the Almighty Pokémon Master. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 351, Huang Chief Inspector. Hey Xingyun, I heard that you defeated the dream demon of the Quasi King and saved Liu Wen's life. What exactly happened? Zhang Ke talked about this topic while chatting. Well, Senior Liu accidentally encountered a dream demon. Coincidentally, I was the closest to him, so after I got the information, I rushed over, and then, facing Zhang Ke's question, Zhang Xingyun briefly recounted the process of the previous battle with the dream demon. Liu Wen is a former graduate of Changning No. 9 Middle School. In private, Zhang Xingyun calls him Senior Liu. This time was also very dangerous. Fortunately, Xingyun arrived in time, otherwise I would probably be lying there. At this point, Liu Wen was also a little scared. I didn't expect that in our team, apart from the captain and the deputy captain, the strongest person is actually the newcomer Xingyun. He has the fighting power of a Quasi King so quickly. It's really the case that the younger generation pushes the older generation forward. GXIU side, comparing himself to others makes people angry. They are all 27 or 28 years old, and they are only elite trainers, while Zhang Xingyun already has the fighting power of a Quasi King. He is also a capable person. With his style of doing things, he will definitely be a strong man in the future. Xingyun, don't forget each other when you become rich and powerful in the future. Ha ha ha. Zhang Ke patted Zhang Xingyun on the shoulder and laughed. Support each other. Zhang Xingyun replied. Look at how humble Xingyun is, and look at you Zhang Ke, who is so arrogant at ordinary times. We are both surnamed Zhang. Why is there such a big difference? He yaosan choked Zhang Ke and said contemptuously. You can't say that. People like Xingyun are definitely the top ones among their peers. Even if they are sent to the imperial capital, they won't be much worse than them. I'm just an ordinary person. I can't compare with them. Zhang Ke did not refute yaosan and said lightly. As they talked, Zhang Xingyun became the center of the topic, and all the talk was about him. Captain Hu, what is the process to serve as the captain of the search brigade or the chief search officer at the county level? Zhang Xingyun asked. As early as when Hu Ziming mentioned these two positions, Zhang Xingyun was interested. After several hours of consideration, he decided to be sent to serve as one of the two positions. Zhang Xingyun thought that he would most likely serve as a search officer after graduating from university, so if he could be promoted now, why not? Ling Feng had said before that the government would treat special talents like him specially, even if he had to go to university in the future. So there was no reason for him to refuse this promotion. Well, it's good that you have figured it out. As for the process, the captain and I will jointly submit your information and resume. At that time, after being reviewed by several kings in Changning, it will be sent to the investigation officer agency in Yangcheng, the provincial capital, for another review. Which one do you like? Hu Ziming asked curiously. Zhang Ke and others stopped talking after hearing the conversation between the two and listened quietly. They were surprised to learn that Zhang Xingyun was going to be promoted, but they were relieved. After thinking about it, I feel that my ability still has a lot of room for improvement, so forget about the investigation team in Nanhai City. If possible, I would like to try the chief investigator of Huang County. Zhang Xingyun said his choice. After comprehensive consideration, he chose the future chief prosecutor of Huang County. Chief investigator at the county level? Not bad. When the captain comes, we will report it. Thank you, Captain Hu. Why are you polite? You are the only one in our team who is qualified. Who else can I recommend? Hu Ziming laughed. He was also very happy that Zhang Xingyun could be promoted. This is also a kind of connection Zhang Xingyun will be able to develop in the future, which will only benefit him and not harm him. He is happy to do this. Captain Hu, is it difficult to get the position of chief investigator of this county? I don't have an advantage compared to other competitors. Zhang Xingyun expressed his concerns. There must be many people who are qualified for this position, and the position of chief investigator of this county is equivalent to the position of captain of the brigade in the city. Don't worry, for someone like you, this is 9 out of 10. After all, talents like you can go to the imperial capital to take the position, let alone here. Your competitiveness is very strong. Hu Ziming's tone was very certain. First of all, Zhang Xingyun was a capable person. He must be better than ordinary people in handling things. Secondly, his age. Now he is only 18 years old and has the strength of a qua-seeking. His potential is very great. In addition, the investigator is not the governor. The focus of the investigator is to combat crime and protect the safety of the city. Young talents are more competitive. Oh, okay. Seeing Hu Ziming's certain look, Zhang Xingyun stopped asking and just waited for the news. Seeing this, Zhang Ke and his companions congratulated him. It's not confirmed yet. If it doesn't work, I'll have to go back to Changning. Zhang Xingyun said. It's not confirmed yet. No matter how confident Hu Ziming is, it's not confirmed. It's too early to make a conclusion now. Seeing that it was getting dark, everyone took out the ingredients, lit a bonfire, and had dinner. Halfway through the meal, the team leader Lin Jianzhang also rushed to the gathering point and had dinner together. You will go there in the morning tomorrow, and you have to rush back at noon. Although there are not many things to do tomorrow, you have to sweep a few more times to ensure that the number of elves in our H area is a little less. After dinner, when everyone sat in a circle and chatted, Lin Jianzhang instructed. Zhang Xingyun and his companions responded. In the next period of time, after the people from the engineering team come, we have to protect the safety of the engineering team members and ensure that the construction process will not be affected. Our team will work together with other teams, and the content of the work depends on the situation. Lin Jianzhang then talked about the arrangements for the next period of time and reminded everyone. Captain, I want to ask if there are any days off during the construction. He Yaosan asked. There should be a rotation of rest, depending on the situation. That's good. After getting Lin Jianzhang's reply, He Yaosan's face lit up. It would be great to have a day off, to go back to the city to rest. She couldn't stand staying in the wild all the time. Even taking a shower was a bit inconvenient. Xingyun Leo, who told you? What do you think? After answering He Yaosan, Lin Jianzhang asked about Zhang Xingyun. Captain, I have thought about it. I want to try the chief search officer of Huang County. As for the captain of the brigade in Nanhai City, I'm still a little incapable. Zhang Xingyun replied, repeating the result of the conversation with Hu Ziming just now. Well, your consideration is reasonable. Then this is it. I will submit the application later. Lin Jianzhang nodded. In fact, with Zhang Xingyun's strength, he can also serve as the captain of a city search brigade, but he is weak and has not been allocated many resources. There are also team captains with slightly weaker strength in Changning, and not all of them are as powerful as Lin Jianzhang, who has Taqua seeking late stage elves. Chapter 352 Elite Late Stage. The next morning, Zhang Xingyun and the other two rushed back to Changning. Captain Lin Jianzhang had something to do, so he went to the defense line. The remaining three people, Hu Ziming, He Yaosan, and GXIU, could not return to Changning until the afternoon. In the morning, the three of them had to patrol the area they were responsible for. After flying for some time, Zhang Xingyun and the other two arrived at the outskirts of Changning City. They agreed to meet here at noon, and then they dispersed. They took out their motorcycles and drove into the city, stopping in front of Boss Li's shop. In the past 2 days of fighting, they had stored a lot of things, including several qua-seeking level Pokémon. It happened that Nidoking's strength was about to break through, so this time, after selling the things, they would buy some useful treasures. When they entered the shop, they saw Boss Li drinking tea on the sofa, and several shop assistants were busy. It was 8 o'clock in the morning, and most of the trainers had just gone out hunting, so there were fewer people. Seeing Zhang Xingyun coming in, Boss Li smiled eagerly, invited them to sit down, and brewed a cup of fragrant tea. After a few pleasantries, Zhang Xingyun got down to business. Take a look at how much these are worth. I also need a batch of treasures, which can be found in here. Okay. Seeing the mountains of treasures in the house, Boss Li's eyes almost narrowed into a line, and he quickly called a few shop assistants to sort these things out. While they were clearing the accounts, Zhang Xingyun also took out his mobile phone to read it. When he opened the local information, the most popular thing was the establishment of Nanhei City. The news media were all building momentum for this Nanhei City, increasing the popularity of Nanhei City, and introducing some policies to attract people to move there and settle down. In the report, many kings came forward to speak out, giving some people who had concerns a shot of adrenaline. Then he sat on the sofa, swiping his mobile phone, and glanced at the news at home and abroad in the past few days. Why hasn't the super evolution thing appeared yet? It's been so long. Zhang Xingyun thought to himself. As early as last year, the super evolution stone appeared, but there has been no super evolution content until now. Okay, brother, your things are settled. While thinking, he heard Boss Lee calling him, turned his head and answered, and then said a batch of materials he needed. After settling the accounts, Zhang Xingyun walked out of the store with a satisfied look on his face. After returning home and taking a hot bath, he lay comfortably on the sofa, played with his mobile phone for a while, then walked out of the room and came to the side of Nidoking, took out the materials from the space and mixed them, and after a while, he made something the size of a watermelon. It exuded a fishy smell, and the surface of the thing also exuded a purple halo. Come on, Nidoking, eat this poison dragon capsule to increase your poison system. The ground system energy in your body is a bit high, just neutralize it. Nidoking reached out and took the poison dragon capsule floating in front of him and ate it in one bite. In the eyes of Nidoking, the extremely poisonous and fishy poison dragon capsule is the supreme delicacy. After eating and digesting for a while, the purple color on Nidoking's body became more intense, and Zhang Xingyun also took the opportunity to take out some items for it to eat. Dang, as soon as he finished eating, the energy fluctuations on Nidoking's body vibrated, and he naturally reached the late elite stage. Nidoking originally had a good foundation. As long as he ate and drank well, the bottleneck of the late elite stage would naturally break through. Nido feeling the energy filling his body, Nidoking roared and vented. My strength has improved to the late elite stage, and I'm one step closer to the King of Heaven. Seeing the mighty and tall Nidoking in front of him, Zhang Xingyun thought of his original ideal King of Heaven, and it is still the same now. The elves also came over and congratulated the big brother Nidoking for breaking through the bottleneck and making further progress in strength. Let's try the effect of the spirit attachment. Zhang Xingyun waved his hands, and after a mysterious gesture, the energy fluctuations on Nidoking's body surged, directly breaking through the bottleneck of the Quasi King of Heaven, and reaching the realm of the Quasi King of Heaven. Now if you face the parasitic mushroom again, you will definitely be able to defeat it within 3 minutes. Nido feeling the energy on his body, Nidoking nodded very affirmatively. That's good. Our team has become stronger. Nidoking can be considered a Quasi-King force, but yet after Super Evolution, Claws, Blastoise and Electabuzz are probably 2 Quasi-King forces, that is 5 Quasi-King forces. Among them, Claws is still a mid-level Quasi-King elf after Super Evolution. According to comprehensive strength, Zhang Xingyun's current strength is considered medium even among the trainers of Quasi-Kings. You also need to make persistent efforts and break through as soon as possible. When you have Quasi-Kings, we can explore the secret realm and appreciate different scenery. Maybe we can meet the mythical beasts. Zhang Xingyun encouraged, describing the prospects to the elves and boosting their morale. Okay, you can move freely here. Those who want to play games can play games. We have to set off at noon. After speaking, Zhang Xingyun returned to the room, lay on the soft sofa, took out his mobile phone, and replied to messages. He was busy these 2 days and didn't reply to the messages sent by his classmates. Now he had time to reply one by one. Several electric beasts sat in front of the game console and started playing games, while the giant claw mantis and Pidgeot were basking in the sun on the training ground. Nidoking was adapting to his own strength and doing some basic movements. He didn't dare to use his skills here. This was just a simple training ground. The iron dumbbells were okay. If he used his skills, he would definitely tear this place down, and maybe even the house would be affected. He also had lunch at home. After eating and cleaning up, Zhang Xingyun set out from home again, and rushed to the place he had agreed to meet. When he arrived, Liu Wen had already arrived. The two waited for a while at the same place, and Zhang also came. They each sent out their elves, and rode their elves to fly in the direction of Huang. After arriving at the place, after handing over to Huzaiming and others also left here. It was their turn to go back to Changning to rest in the afternoon. Let's split up and patrol in 3 groups. Let's patrol here again. If there is any situation, contact us through the communicator, Zhang Xingyun said. Okay. After determining their respective patrol areas, the 3 of them also dispersed. After being driven away, there were not many elves left. There were only some scattered elves, and it was not difficult to clean up. Zhang Xingyun patrolled the area he was responsible for. Only an hour had passed, and there were generally no problems. The construction team will arrive tomorrow, and they must ensure that their construction will not be affected. This afternoon, Zhang Xingyun patrolled a total of 3 times and drove away as many elves as possible. Chapter 353 Patrol and Abnormality. On the second day, the engineering team's car rumbled with several large machines, escorted by a team of trainers, and arrived at Huang County to hand over to several teams including Zhang Xingyun. After the handover, Zhang Xingyun and his team stayed near the construction site to protect the workers and prevent them from being attacked by elves. Dong 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 dang dang dang, the noise of the construction was very loud, and no wonder they were arranged to protect them around the construction. With this level of noise, it would naturally attract elves. Zhang Xingyun and Zhang stood aside, patrolling the surroundings, and there were also several elves around them, ready for battle. Want one? Zhang handed over a cigarette and asked. Thank you, but I don't smoke. Zhang Xingyun refused. He really didn't smoke. Damn it, it's better to go to the forest to fight that elf than to stay here. Dong dong dong, now my head is full of pile driving sounds. It's so noisy. Zhang leaned against the tree next to him and smoked a cigarette. Aren't you noisy? Seeing that Zhang Xingyun's face was normal, Zhang couldn't help but ask. It's okay. I can temporarily block my hearing. It's not very noisy. Zhang Xingyun said calmly. You still have this operation? What if there are elves attacking? You can't hear it. I can release my mental power to explore the surroundings. It doesn't matter whether I can hear it or not. Fuck. After saying that, he threw the cigarette butt on the ground and crushed it with his foot. Then you can wear these headphones. I can detect the surrounding situation. Zhang Xingyun threw a headphone over, indicating that the surrounding environment is under control. Why didn't you say so earlier? Zhang immediately took the headphones, put them on, took out his mobile phone, and swiped a few times, listened to the music, and swayed his body to the rhythm. Hearing that Zhang Xingyun could release his mental power to explore the surroundings, he also relaxed and listened to the song. Not to mention that the sound of dong 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 was much smaller. You people with special abilities are really good at having fun. Not bad. We are comfortable, but old Hu and the others will definitely be annoyed to death. Thinking of himself listening to music with headphones and looking relaxed, and thinking of Huzaiming and the others with bitter faces, listening to the thumping sounds made by the workers when they were building, Zhang mouth corners slightly raised. There is no harm without comparison, especially when compared with classmates. It is more obvious. Hello, Captain. While the two were chatting, Lin Jian's Han came over and saw Zhang wearing headphones. He couldn't help but say, Zhang, what are you doing? Don't you know that you have to keep your hearing in the wild? I asked him to wear that. Zhang Xingyun said softly on the side and then explained the reason. I see, then forget it this time. After listening to Zhang Xingyun's explanation, Lin Jian's Hang's face eased a little and he didn't continue. By the way, I submitted your application yesterday morning. There should be news in a few days. Okay, thank you, Captain. No, okay, you to continue patrolling and go to the defense line to help in the afternoon. I have something to do, so I'll leave first. Contact me if you have anything. Okay. After watching Lin Jian's Han leave, the two began to patrol around. After patrolling a circle, they did not encounter any elves. So they picked a few fruits on the roadside and ate them. The elves' command was not low either. They were just driven away a few days ago. The earlier few approached here and were attacked by something, so they naturally would not come to die. The two talked about the route and pulled away from the construction site. There were many dense trees to block the sound, and Zhang also took off his headphones. In a few hours, we can go to the defense line to take a look, and we don't have to hear this annoying roar. Zhang stretched his waist and said in a buzzing voice, "There's an Arbok behind you." "What? Arbok? There's still some distance to go. Mantis, you go ahead." Hassan Mantis turned into a shadow and met the Arbok behind Zhang. After a few bangs, Mantis dragged the Arbok and came to Zhang Xingyun. Zhang Xingyun calmly threw a Pokeball and took the half-dead Arbok. In the hands of the Quasi-King Mantis, this elite Arbok only lasted one move before losing its combat ability. Awesome, awesome, full of security, no wonder so many people want to be with you ability users. Zhang Xingyun didn't say anything. After finishing off the Arbok, he continued patrolling. It was lunchtime, and the two came to the temporary canteen at the construction site to eat. Hu Ziming and others were also there, so they sat at one table. Zhang looked at Ieosun, who had a sullen face, and laughed unkindly. "What are you laughing at? You've been making the same noise all morning. It's still ringing in my head, and it hurts my head." Ieosun said unhappily, looking at Zhang who was gloating over his misfortune. One morning, she and Hu Ziming stayed at the first construction site to observe, and the noise was louder and noisier. "Hey, look, that worker in blue clothes is a bit suspicious," Zhang Xingyun said, pointing at a worker who was getting his lunch. "What?" After hearing this, everyone looked at the person Zhang Xingyun pointed at, but they couldn't figure it out. "Xingyun, do you see anything from your appearance?" Hu Ziming asked softly, lowering his voice. Zhang and the others also looked at him. "I just released my mental power, and when I scanned him, I felt something was wrong. I observed that it was because of the vest he was wearing. It should be made of special materials. Then the question is, which worker would wear such special clothes? And the necklace on his neck, if I'm not mistaken, it should be a space item. It's impossible for an ordinary worker to wear it," Zhang Xingyun explained, analyzing it one by one. Hu Ziming and his companions' faces suddenly became solemn. They looked at him obscurely and found that it was really suspicious as Zhang Xingyun said, "I'll check his information." Hu Ziming took out his mobile phone, swiped a few times, and clicked on a picture. The person in the picture was the worker who served the food. Clicking on his information, he was just an ordinary worker. Something's wrong. The information shows that he is just an ordinary worker, so it's impossible for him to have these. Hu Ziming frowned slightly, and everyone realized that this might be someone who came to sabotage, such as a member of the rocket team. What should Captain Hu do? Do we need to notify the captain? Ieosun asked in a low voice. "We don't know the situation yet, so don't act rashly. Xingyun, you follow him first to see if he has any accomplices or anything, and what he is going to do." "Okay." After Zhang Xingyun finished speaking, he silently pretended to leave here, and then moved in an instant to a corner to observe him. Chapter 354, Arrest. Zuhu was eating normally and greeting the workers passing by. He looked like an ordinary worker. In fact, he was a member of the rocket team, lurking here as a worker, with the purpose of causing trouble. Recently, many bases of the rocket team have been destroyed, and many people have been arrested. However, he and another member of the rocket team lurking here escaped, because they were lurking in the engineering team, and were very ordinary. They became two fish that slipped through the net. A few days ago, he received a secret order from his superiors to come here today, to make a big explosion and finally bring a few powerful investigators together. He had almost arranged it in the morning. He installed some special bombs on several machines, and waited for several people of status to come together to detonate the bombs. With a calculated plan, the probability of success was very high. There should be several captain level people coming to hand over in the afternoon. At that time, I can detonate it, and then escape in the chaos. When I escape, I will be rewarded. Thinking of this, Zuhu grinned, and when he noticed someone was looking at him, he returned to normal. After finishing his meal, he put away his plate, walked out of the cafeteria, and squeezed into the cafeteria. Zhang Xingyun followed behind him, paying attention to his every move. In order not to make him suspicious, he found a room and walked in, sending out his mental power to observe him. Zuhu came to one side and checked the bombs very obscurely. After confirming that they were correct, he went under a tree to smoke. A thin man with narrow eyes and many freckles on his face came up and whispered. The scene of the two people whispering was also seen by Zhang Xingyun. Looking at their lips, he roughly knew what they were saying. He still understood lip language. From the communication between the two, Zhang Xingyun also learned some information, took out his mobile phone to edit it, and sent it to Hu Ziming. Can you find out how many people there are? How strong are they? Hu Ziming replied immediately. After thinking about it, Zhang Xingyun edited another message and sent it. I observed their conversation, and can roughly determine that there are only 2 people. As for their strength, the energy I feel from them is not strong. By analogy, the strength of their spirits is not high either. My suggestion is to capture them immediately, and force them to tell me their plan. After a while, Hu Ziming sent a message. Okay, you take a look first, I'll make some arrangements, and wait for my notice. Okay. After replying, Zhang Xingyun stared at the 2 people. Strange, why do I have a feeling that someone is watching us? Zuhu touched the back of his head and asked in confusion. You did too much healthcare in the past 2 days. Zuhu's companion had a wretched face, showing a mouthful of yellow teeth and laughing. No, I really have this feeling, don't you, big monkey? No, I guess you are under a lot of mental pressure. Relax, brother. We are so well prepared. If we succeed, we will be able to be cool for a while. Seeing Zuhu's look, the man named Big Monkey didn't care. Instead, he looked forward to the beautiful life after success and smiled wretchedly while thinking. On the other side, Zhang Xingyun also received the order to take action and began to act. No, I really feel something is wrong. My feeling is very accurate. I have relied on it to escape danger many times. Seeing Zuhu say this, the big monkey also restrained his relaxed look. The feeling is right, but unfortunately you are doing the wrong thing. Who? The sudden voice scared the 2 of them, but they found that they were controlled and could not move. The elves on their bodies sensed that something was wrong and came out of the elf balls one after another. A red shadow flashed, and the few elves that had just come out lay on the ground and lost consciousness. Want to leave? Stay here. The space shook slightly, and an elite peak Poo Poo Pig fell down. Poo Poo Pig wanted to take the 2 away from here, but unexpectedly, the teleportation was interrupted. Just as he raised his head, he saw a red fist. Bang! After a few hits, it was also taken care of by the giant mantis. The 2 were also imprisoned by Zhang Xingyun, and could not move. Seeing the search officer system on Zhang Xingyun, the 2 knew that they were doomed. Idiot, you dare to sabotage with a late elite Poo Poo Pig? How dare you? As they were talking, Hu Ziming and his men also arrived at the scene and tied up the 2 men. I'll go out and observe to see if there are any abnormalities among the other workers. After saying that, Zhang Xingyun disappeared from the spot, walked around the construction site, and did not find any unusual workers. How is it? No abnormality was found. There should be only the 2 of them. Then it's the same as what they said. At this time, Zuhu and the others had dull eyes and answered whatever they were asked. I think these 2 are mostly minions. Just look at their elves. Zhang Xingyun looked at the elves lying on the side and said lightly, that's right, but we can't be careless. By the way, they also said a place, saying it is the location for contacting the superiors. You come with me and see if it's there. Okay. Then the 2 rushed to that place, and Zhang Ke and his men handled other matters. How is it? Have you found any clues? After a while, the 2 came to a hill 50 kilometers away, and Hu Ziming asked. I explored the surroundings, but didn't find anything unusual. Then let's go down to the ground to take a look. Hu Ziming released a big steel snake, drilled into the ground, and after searching for a circle, he still found nothing unusual. It seems that those 2 people are abandoned. After exploring a circle, there was no trace of the rocket team members. Instead, they encountered a few elves, but they were wild. Let's go back and discuss it with the captain. The 2 rode the elves back to the construction site and saw that the captain Lin Jianzhang had arrived. Did you get anything? Seeing the 2 people's appearance, Lin Jianzhang asked. No, those 2 people are probably abandoned. There is no one to meet them there. They didn't know anything during the interrogation. Lin Jianzhang frowned and then said, the rocket team's action should not end here. There should be some conspiracy. I will go to exchange information with other captains. After speaking, he took out his mobile phone and contacted several other captains. While the captain Lin Jianzhang was contacting other captains, the construction team also started construction. The dong 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 sound rang again. But this time, Zhang Ke and the others did not complain about the noise, but sat together with serious faces, quietly waiting for Lin Jianzhang's next arrangement. No matter how noisy the noise was, it was just a minor fight, but the rocket's affairs were not minor fights. If one was not handled properly, it would cause a big problem. Chapter 355 Elf Experiment. Captain, we still have 2 people lurking here, so are there any other places as well? Do we need to inform them? Zhang Xingyun said. The construction of Nanhai City was jointly built by several surrounding cities. It would be impossible to build it with only Changning City. The construction of Huayang County is completely assisted by Changning, so Zhang Xingyun and his several teams are guarding here. Yes, I told the people over there. Captain, do you have any news? For example, are there any bases of the rocket team recently? I asked, but there is no accurate news yet. Everyone sat together to discuss this matter. With the style of the rocket team, it is impossible that only these few minions appeared. There should be other means behind it. Everyone is sitting together now, just guessing what the rocket team is doing. Is it destroying the construction of Huayang County? Is it revenge for the base we destroyed a while ago? Unknown purpose, mainly to confuse people. The pedestrians said one guess after another, and then deduced, but they always felt that they couldn't find a clue. This rocket team is too difficult to deal with. It has only been a short time since the crackdown, and now they are out to cause trouble. I really don't know what they want, Hyeosan said. Since she became an investigator, 80% of the things she has dealt with are about the rocket team. To be honest, the rocket team can still perform so well under the government's crackdown. Their strength is also quite extraordinary. Yes, I heard that the 4 saints of the rocket team are champions, plus the others. With such strength, even some small countries are not as strong as the rocket team. Okay, now is not the time to talk about this. Don't go off track. We are now guessing the intention of the rocket team, not describing its strength. Seeing that the team members were talking in the wrong direction, Lin Jianzhang spoke up. The situation at hand is also very tricky because each guess makes sense and the intention is unclear for a while. If you rely on a carpet search, it is estimated that it will be useless because the area to be searched is too large. No one knows how many bases the rocket team has and where they will be built. Old Lin, what did they say? Can we get in touch? Hu Ziming asked. The bear he mentioned was the undercover agent sent to the rocket team. Well, I'm still hesitating. I'm afraid they will be exposed. It's not worth using them for this unfounded speculation. Besides, I'm also afraid that this is a trap. I have to discuss it with the captains of other brigades. You also know about Comrade Gaoki's affairs. Gaoki is an investigator lurking in the rocket team. He was exposed by the Silver Scorpion. He was tortured in the rocket team's base and was finally rescued by the investigators who broke in. That's why Lin Jianzhang said that. Ningdong County, Changning City. Ningdong County is a county under the jurisdiction of Changning, located relatively close to the newly built Nanhai City. In a laboratory at the outskirts of Galaxy Biotechnology Co. Limited, a group of people in white coats looked at a nine-tailed fox in the observation room through special glass. Wu, the nine-tailed fox inside the room, was wailing in pain. His eyes were red, and his skin was gradually cracking, and a flickering red light was also emitted. Bang! After the nine-tailed fox let out its last scream, it exploded and became a mass of flesh and blood. Alas, this experiment failed again. It's a pity to waste such a good experimental material. An old man with grey hair and thick glasses said in the crowd. Drive Nankong, there is no need to be like this. Genes are difficult to study, and the experimental conditions here are backward. When we get to Team Rocket, there will be plenty of experimental materials of this level. A middle-aged man next to him comforted him. The man's face was covered with many scars. He was tall and had bulging muscles supporting his white coat. He looked a little out of place. He was the person in charge of Team Rocket stationed here. His name was Kejian, a king level trainer. He was a member of the Kinglang faction. He took the risk of lurking here to do experiments in order to collect some experimental data and send it to Kinglang. This company has been registered for more than 10 years and is one of the rocket's work. Well, after so long of experimenting, we have obtained a correct genetic recombination code. We should be able to use it when we return. Dr. Nankang nodded. In order not to attract the attention of relevant personnel, he conducted experiments secretly and was forced to stop for a while ago. By the way, the Nanu County that the government is building is not far from us. Should we stop for a while? Nankang thought of the construction of Nanhu and said cautiously. No, I have made some arrangements. Don't worry. Besides, our convenience fee is still useful. Kejian said confidently. That's good. After listening to this, Dr. Nankang was relieved. Buzz buzz buzz. Hello. Kejian saw the phone ringing and answered it immediately. Boss, it's not good. The mutant band glass has gone crazy. Together with other experimental elves, they broke through the third line of defense. Boss, come here quickly. We can't stop them. An anxious voice came from the phone. Okay, I'll be there right away. Drive Nankang, we are in trouble. Those experimental elves are rioting and have now rushed to the third line of defense. I'm afraid they will attract the attention of the investigators. So, take the experimental data with you and retreat first. After hanging up the phone, Kejian said to Dr. Nankang. At this time, the confidence on his face had disappeared, leaving only a solemn look. Dr. Nankang frowned and said in a deep voice, okay, then I'll leave first. Okay, there's no time to lose, hurry up. After saying that, he quickly ran to a place to deal with the matter. It's already the third circle. I guess this experimental base will be exposed soon. I have to leave quickly. Nankang frowned, holding a briefcase tightly, called a few people in white coats, and after cleaning up the data, they gathered together and got into a commercial vehicle under the protection of several members of the rocket team. Boom 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 ban roar. When Kejian arrived, he only saw one Bagheera and several other elves, firing powerful skills, which penetrated the walls of the base. The whole space was shaking. Damn, when did this beast reach the top? Seeing Bagheera spraying a destructive death ray on the field, Kejian's face became even uglier. Bagheera seemed to have seen Kejian, with red eyes, and a destructive death ray blasted over, but was blocked by Kejian's elves. Let's go, we are leaving, don't worry about it. Kejian ordered. It was no longer worth defending here, and exposure was inevitable. Chapter 356, The Violent Elves. By the way, let's just release the other elves. But there are some ordinary people up there, all hired by us. Will it be? Heh, you've been with them for so long, you've become stupid. What are we? Team Rocket members. Team Rocket members that everyone wants to kill. You actually have this ridiculous compassion. Kejian mocked. Yes, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. The man being said lowered his head, and there was no trace of compassion left. Let's go. If we don't leave now, we won't be able to leave. Yes. Then each member of Team Rocket retreated and released the other elves suppressed underground. Woo 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 ah woo woo coo. For a moment, multiple pairs of red eyes emerged from the darkness, and suppressed and angry roars continued. The elves are invading. Call the police. Run. After a while of roaring, the entire building of Galaxy Biotechnology Co. Limited was ablaze. In the flames, people's screams, elves' roars, and buildings' explosions were heard. The elves in the riot didn't care about these. They just wanted to vent now, to vent the pain they had suffered since they set out. Now they hated humans very much. It was humans who brought them torture. When they were just born, they began to be injected with unknown drugs and some strange means to survive in the dark environment until now. At this moment, they just wanted to kill the humans they saw. It didn't matter whether they were humans at that time. It was enough to be human. Ban the leading Bangilus leaned back slightly, and a powerful destructive death light shot out. He also stepped on the ground, causing the ground to shake continuously. There were also several other companies near the Galaxy Company. They also suffered a devastating disaster today. Except for 1 or 2 people who escaped, the others were killed here and became charred corpses in the sea of fire. After destroying the surrounding buildings, the elves looked towards Ningdong County. They saw a large number of humans they hated extremely. Amid roars, the furious elves headed towards Ningdong County. What? There are elves attacking Ningdong. Okay, I'll go there now. Lin Jianzhong, who was at the construction site, also received a notification of the elves attacking Ningdong. After hanging up the phone, he immediately made arrangements. Xingyun, you and Zhang Ke come with me. Leohu, you guys keep an eye on this place. Okay. Then, Lin Jianzhong took the 2 of them riding on the elves and flew towards Ningdong. At this time, the west gate of Ningdong County was billowing with black smoke, and the original buildings turned into ruins. Mengayu and Wang looked at the ruined west gate with a very ugly face. Below, his 2 main elves held back the rioting Bangilus, but the violent Bangilus was quite strong. Even with the beating of 2 mid-level Cheyenne Wang elves, he still had the strength to fight back. Another experimental elf, damn it. On the ground, teams of security guards, led by several search officers, lined up to stop the rioting elves from moving forward, and the 2 sides fought here. But the strength of the security guards was not high. Facing the crazy attacks of many violent elves, they could no longer hold their ground. Kami 2 water cannons sprayed out, clearing away several elves close to the crowd, giving the security guards some time to breathe. The water cannon was fired by a Blastoise on the field. It was also the main elf of Mingyushai and Wang, and was arranged here to intercept the elves' advance. If it weren't for this Blastoise, the security guards would not be able to stop the violent elves at all. Ao Cuba among the elves. Although only the Bangirus was a king level elf, there were also many quasi-king level elves. The incident happened suddenly. Even if people tried to resist, the elves still knocked down the west city gate, causing huge casualties and economic losses. Quick, recruit trainers, call those with average strength, we can't stop them. A mature security guard shouted. He was Liu Sheng, the director of the Ningdong County Public Security Bureau. Faced with such an attack by Pokémon, he naturally had to go to the battlefield in person. Director, there are no more. There are only so many people we can call. It happened too suddenly and there is no time to prepare. The man who looked like an assistant next to him replied. Alas. Liu Sheng looked distressed. If something like this happened, even if he personally went to the front line to command the battle, he would definitely be punished afterwards. At the least, he would be dismissed from his post, and at the worst, he would be interrogated and imprisoned. After all, this was his dereliction of duty, and so many people were killed and injured, and buildings were destroyed. There will definitely be social impacts and public opinion guidance. In short, he is finished. Now he can only stop these violent Pokémons, and don't let them go any further. Damn it, how did so many elves hide here silently? Biological company? I understand, it must be that old guy Wang Leben who took the convenience fee. Damn it, I'm dead. After thinking for a while, Liu Sheng also found out where the problem was, which was the operation of his deputy, Wang Leben, the deputy director of the Public Security Bureau. Where is he? Liu Sheng asked. Deputy Director Wang is missing. The assistant beside him said with a bitter face. Liu Sheng's heart was even more angry. His deputy actually escaped. He must have fled for fear of crime. Helplessly, Liu Sheng put this matter aside and commanded the battle first. If these elves rushed into the county, then he would be 100% finished. Kami at this time, the Blastoise was also entangled by many quasi-king elves. These elves were fearless and in a violent state. They rushed forward, and the Blastoise in the middle stage of the king was also entangled. Hurry, hurry, let those who can stand up come up, we can't hold on any longer. Liu Sheng shouted anxiously. Blastoise was entangled, and they lost this protection. Boom boom boom, Blastoise was entangled, and the remaining elves launched a crazy charge. This time their team was directly rushed over, and many security guards on the field were torn into pieces by the elves. It's over, it's over. Seeing this scene, Liu Sheng's heart sank, and then his face became serious. He rushed up with 2 quasi-king elves. He would rather die here than escape, because he had also been protected by others with his life, but now it was his turn. He originally came here to retire, and the two elves were also his old friends. They were also injured, but now they had no choice but to fight to the death. When the elves broke through the team, Zhang Xingyun and others arrived and quickly intercepted the elves. Nidoking, all of you come out, go all out, don't hold back. After Zhang Xingyun moved a few times, he came to several street entrances and released all the elves including Nidoking. Chapter 357 Blockage. Nidoking flashed out of the Pokeball and appeared on top of a Centipede King. He gathered his strength and pressed down on his head. Boom! After this blow, half of the Centipede King's head sank into the ground. No matter how it struggled, it could not break free from Nidoking's iron claws. After struggling for a while, the Centipede King found that the restraint on his head had disappeared, so he looked up and saw two fists flashing with flames. Nidoking used his flaming fists and smashed them all on the Centipede King. Bang 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 air WW. After the sound of the fists hitting, the Centipede King screamed. After a few hits, looking at the dying Centipede King, a hot jet of flame spewed out, almost in front of it. Boom! After this blow, the Centipede King was covered with black smoke and exuded an inexplicable smell. He lay motionless and had lost his ability to fight. After dealing with the Centipede King, Nidoking looked at Zhang Xingyun, and after seeing him nod, he rushed to deal with other elves. It only took 40 seconds to deal with an elite late-stage Centipede King. Nidoking has become even stronger. Looking at Nidoking's figure, Zhang Xingyun murmured, there's something wrong with these elves. Why are their life breaths so chaotic? Zhang Xingyun frowned, thinking in his heart. There are at least 3 types of life breaths on the bodies of these violent elves in front of him, which is very painful and fatal. For example, if a fire elf is full of water or ice, if it cannot be eliminated in time, it will bring endless pain and death to the elf. Sympathy is sympathy, but now is not the time to think about these things. These violent elves must be taken down, and they cannot be allowed to continue to destroy. Hassan the giant claw mantis fought 1 against 3, involving 3 monsters. 2 of the 3 monsters were in the early stage of the Quasi-King, and 1 was in the middle stage of the Quasi-King. They were also very strange. The most concentrated energy on their bodies was not their own energy, but the energy of the flying system. You know, flying is twice as strong as fighting. These 3 monsters are lucky to be alive until now, and therefore, their combat power is even stronger. The 3 monsters were probably cultivated together, and they had some tacit understanding when they attacked. Even though they were already blinded by anger, they still used it subconsciously. Bang! The giant claw mantis punched 2 of them and both retreated. Cool! The monster in the middle stage of the Quasi-King jumped out from behind, with 2 arms emitting fire and 2 flashing lightning, and they all avoided the giant claw mantis. Hassan, but the giant claw mantis easily dodged the attack. The speed of the monster was still too slow in the eyes of the giant claw mantis. While dodging, the giant claw mantis also attacked the 2 monsters behind it in a roundabout way. First the easy, and then the difficult. First deal with the Quasi-King in the early stage, and then deal with the monster in the middle stage of the Quasi-King. Cool! The 2 monsters looked at the giant mantis rushing towards them, staring at their scarlet hands, and both went up to greet them. Puff! Suddenly, many giant mantises appeared on the field, and the monster's attacks all fell on the clones. Suddenly, the giant mantis appeared in front of monster, and punched the man's jaw with a punch, and the whole body of the monster rose directly into the sky. Whoosh! The giant mantis appeared above at an extremely fast speed, with its claws shining like steel, hitting the monster's body one after another. Bang! The monster fell heavily to the ground, and the giant mantis stood on it. Cool! Another one rushed over, trying to save the monster under the giant mantis feet. The giant mantis disappeared again, flew into the air, closed its claws, and shot down a destructive 313 destruction death ray. Boom! It hit the 2 monsters. After the smoke and dust cleared, the original one had lost consciousness, and the one who came to support was also severely injured. He was half squatting on the ground, looking at it with red eyes. Hassan the giant claw mantis rushed to the back and made a sound of breaking through the air, but the destructive death light had just been fired on its body, and now it was a little hard, so it could only move along the glide. Bang! But it was still hit by the rock-breaking blow of the strange force that attacked from the back, and was wrapped by this force, and fell into the house next to it. The house also collapsed, and the building materials fell one after another. At the critical moment, Zhang Xingyun used teleportation to teleport the giant claw mantis out of the building waste. But the strange force didn't know this. After the house collapsed, it jumped up and bombarded the collapsed building. Giant claw mantis, are you okay? Hassan, sorry, there was a problem with my electric shock monster just now, and I didn't take care of it for a while. Hassan, the giant claw mantis, shook its head, indicating that it didn't blame him, but it was just too underestimated. After taking out the medicine and dealing with it quickly, the giant clawed mantis rushed over again and fought with the two monsters. The giant clawed mantis's strength was not much different from that of the mid-stage Quasi-King, and with its extremely fast speed, it quickly dealt with the injured monster and finally fought a 1vs1 battle with the mid-stage Quasi-King monster. Pidgeot's opponent was a Pidgeot and a King Swallow. At this time, both sides were fighting fiercely in the sky. In comparison, Pidgeot's combat power was still not as good as that of the giant clawed mantis. Fighting against two elves, one elite and one Quasi-King, it was still a bit difficult for the non-super evolved Pidgeot to deal with them. The two sides went back and forth, and for a while I couldn't tell the winner. If Pidgeot had super evolution, he might have the upper hand, but now was not the time, so Zhang Xingyun didn't let him super evolve to fight. Giant clawed mantis, you should replace it. It's still a bit reluctant to fight against the circle bear. Nidoking had just solved a late stage elite elf, and upon hearing the words, he rushed to the electric shock monster and replaced the electric shock monster. Electric beast, you take care of these elites. Hey boo electric beast obeyed the order and dealt with the elite level Pokémon. The circle bear was originally a hot-tempered power Pokémon, and now it is in a violent state, and its strength is 3 times stronger. Electric beast is at a disadvantage in the battle with it. It was blown away by the circle bear several times. In terms of combat power alone, it is not as good as the circle bear. Facing this early peak of the Quasi-King, Nidoking is not easy. Although he has suppressed it steadily, it will take some effort to deal with it. Fortunately, in the area defended by Zhang Xingyun, there are no other Quasi-King Pokémon except 3 monsters, a Pidgeot, a King Swallow, and a circle bear. These Pokémons that have been bred through experiments are much stronger than ordinary Pokémon of the same kind. They are still in a rage, and their strength should not be underestimated. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 358, Quelling the Riot. While Zhang Xingyun was defending, the searchers from other brigades also arrived and joined in immediately, and the situation stabilized instantly. Kami Mingayushai and Wang's Blastoise finally defeated all the elves that were entangled with it. After taking a look at the current situation, he rushed to the battlefield on the side of Bangulus, and together with his companions, he surrounded and beat Bangulus. This Bangulus is different from ordinary Bangulus. It is 3.5 meters tall, and its combat power is not inferior to that of the elves in the middle stage of the king. Even if it is 1 against 2, it is not inferior. After waiting for Blastoise to join the battlefield, Bangulus gradually lost. If Mingayushai and Wang did not arrive in time, no one here will be able to stop the attack of this Bangulus. If it is given time, the entire county will be reduced to ruins. On the battlefield on Zhang Xingyun's side, the giant claw mantis also took some effort to take down the strange force. The strange force of the Quasi-King in the middle stage is not easy to deal with, and the giant claw mantis also suffered a lot of injuries in this battle. The elite level battle was quelled without any suspense. The only one present was the circle bear that Nidoking was dealing with. Everyone, hurry up and get rid of the circle bear, Zhang Xingyun said. This is not the wild, and it is not suitable for Nidoking to fight the circle bear alone. It must be solved as soon as possible. After hearing this, the elves all took action, using more people to fight fewer people, and assisted Nidoking in defeating the circle bear. After the circle bear let out its last wail, it fell to the ground with a bang. Zhang Xingyun, who has supernatural powers, naturally knows the emotions contained in the circle bear's howl. Helplessness, confusion, anger, Pain. The elves present were not only like this, but all the elves were like this. Alas. Zhang Xingyun sighed and didn't know what to say for a while. These elves would not live long, and their brave state today was also a kind of catharsis. Whether they succeeded or not, they didn't have much life source left. It's Team Rocket again. Seeing the collars on the elves' necks, with a red R on them, one can naturally know that this is Team Rocket's work. Bang, with a loud roar, accompanied by the roar of several skills, the mighty Bangirus fell down. Bangirus was still roaring after falling down, with a ferocious face roaring at the 3 king elves who defeated it. Boom. After suffering another wave of attacks, Bangirus closed his eyes unwillingly and lost consciousness. After Bangirus fell down, other invading elves were also cleared out, and the scene was in a mess. When Bangirus fell down, a figure flew from the sky. It was Ling Feng and a nearby king. On the back of the elf they were riding, there was a tied person. Looking closely, it was the escaped Zuhu. After the incident, Ling Feng rushed over immediately and was blocked by Kejian on the way. After a battle, he took Zuhu down and brought them here together. The fire-breathing dragon flapped its wings and landed on the ground. Ling Feng dragged Kejian to the front of Mingai, Shai and Wang. I was on the way and was entangled by this guy for a while. How is the situation now? How about the death? After circling around and seeing the smoking building, Ling Feng's brows furrowed even more. The losses have not been counted yet, but it is definitely not small. Fortunately, it was stopped in time, otherwise the whole Ningdan county would be gone. Mingai replied with a heavy tone. Where is Liu Sheng? After listening to Mingai's words, Ling Feng shouted to the crowd. Liu Sheng heard someone calling him, looked up and saw that it was Ling Feng, and hurried over. Liu Sheng also tried his best in this battle. The scars of all sizes on his body were still dripping with blood. One of his old friends also died in the battle, and he looked very embarrassed. I'm here. What's going on? How did you manage such a large-scale invasion? What do you usually do? Ling Feng roared. He would also be punished for the incident in Ningdan County this time, because Liu Sheng was also his subordinate. While Ling Feng and the others were understanding what happened, Zhang Xingyun rescued the wounded. Only Lin Jian's Hang was called over to discuss the matter. The wounded man's face was relieved by the healing energy. In the previous battle, one of his arms was bitten off, and the injury was very serious. There were many people with the same injuries as him. Now the rescuers have not arrived yet. Zhang Xingyun and others with healing Pokémons have taken action to treat the wounded. I don't know how many trainers will die in Ningdan County this time, and how many families will be broken. The wounded were placed on this side, and the bodies of the sacrificed people were placed on the other side, covered with white cloth, and many of the bodies were incomplete. After this battle, nearly 80% of the personnel of the Ningdan County Public Security Bureau were killed or injured, and there were also many trainers who assisted. These all needed to be dealt with by Ling Feng and his team. Woo woo woo, the sound of the ambulance came from a distance. After a while, more than a dozen ambulances stopped, and the paramedics walked out of the car and began to rescue the wounded. Zhang Xingyun and others worked for a long time and only had time to rest after sending the last injured person to the ambulance. Zhang Xingyun and Zhang Ke sat in a corner. Zhang Ke smoked a cigarette and said, I heard that the number of casualties this time will not be less than 1,000. I don't know what these people in Ningdan do. They are so useless that they didn't even find the rocket's experimental base. Xingyun, if you become the chief investigator of Huang County in the future, you have to pay more attention to these things. If something like this happens now, Director Liu is definitely finished. Dismissal is the least of his punishment. Zhang Xingyun nodded and said, I know, I will pay more attention. Well, that's better. The ruins on the field naturally do not need to be cleaned up by the main combat investigators like Zhang Xingyun, but there are special staff to clean up. At this moment, the investigators who came to support can rest on the spot. After a while, Lin Jian's Han came over, greeted them, and took the two back to the construction site. The rest of the things were not theirs to deal with. The support was also completed, so they naturally had to go back to inspect the construction site. Now that something like this had happened, no one knew whether the rockets would attack the construction site they were responsible for and hinder the construction of Huang County. Captain, what's the situation? After the three landed, the few people who stayed behind came forward, and Hyeosan asked, "It has calmed down." It was the work of the rockets. The elves that attacked Ningdong County were the elves they secretly experimented on. For some reason, they broke free from their control, and this happened. Lin Jianzhang briefly explained what happened, and took everyone to a meeting room. Chapter 359, Vigiet Breakthrough. In the meeting room, Lin Jianzhang repeated what he knew, and let everyone understand the cause and process of this matter. Xingyun, if you become the chief investigator of Huang County in the future, you must pay more attention to this aspect. You must not be negligent, and you must not let your subordinates commit illegal acts. Yes, thank you for the reminder, Captain. Zhang Xingyun said sincerely. He would pay attention without Lin Jianzhang's reminder. He and Team Rocket had a deep feud. He was hunted down and killed Team Rocket's VIP. In addition, it is the duty of the investigator to do his job and attack Team Rocket. After Lin Jianzhang spoke for a while, he let everyone disperse. When Zhang Xingyun walked out of the door, his face was a little solemn. In the meeting just now, Lin Jianzhang also mentioned that this batch of elves was because of genetic experiments. Speaking of this genetic experiment, Zhang Xingyun thought of an artificial beast Mutuo. Mutuo was also created based on the genes of Mutuo. In the anime of the previous life, its strength was comparable to that of a first level beast. I don't know how far the rockets have researched. Will Mutuo be made? Zhang Xingyun thought to himself. Forget it. Even if it is made, I can't control it. If the sky falls, there are tall people to hold it up. Improving my own strength is the most important thing. Zhang Ke, who was traveling with him, saw that his face was so solemn, so he asked with concern, "What's wrong?" "Nothing, just thinking of some past events." "Oh, look at it more positively. The past is over. We have to look forward." Zhang Ke remembered that Zhang Xingyun was also invaded by elves, but it was the advent of the secret realm, not caused by humans. It may be the scene that hurts his feelings. "Well, I know." Zhang Xingyun responded with a relaxed expression. The two of them still patrolled the area together. This time, the roar of dong 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 didn't seem to be as loud as last time. Compared with Ningdong's wailing, Zhang Xingyun felt that the roar of the machine was so beautiful. Soon it was night. After a day's work, the workers returned to the temporary house to rest. Zhang Xingyun also lived in a house. At this moment, he was sitting cross-legged on the bed, immersed in his mind and cultivation. "Dong Dong Xingyun, are you here? Your ID is here." Jin Jianzhang's voice came from outside the house. "I'm here." Zhang Xingyun stood up and opened the door, welcoming Lin Jianzhang in. "You have to take up the position. Here is your letter of appointment." Lin Jianzhang handed over a briefcase, and Zhang Xingyun quickly took it. "From now on, you are the chief investigator of Huang County. I hope you can fulfill your duties conscientiously." "I will." Zhang Xingyun's face became serious, and he answered very seriously. "Well, work hard." After saying that, Lin Jianzhang patted Zhang Xingyun on the shoulder and walked out. GXIU and others in the next room also heard the noise, and walked out of the room. Congratulations to him. Zhang Xingyun also responded with a smile, and when they returned to the room, he closed the door and opened the briefcase. A small book and a letter of appointment, as well as several papers full of words. The small booklet was his ID card, and the letter of appointment said that he was hired as the chief investigator of Huang County, with the same rights and status as the director of the County Public Security Bureau in his previous life. Due to the nature of the position of the investigator, his rights were higher than those of an ordinary official, and this position was also of medium grade among the investigators. The few words on the paper were all about some precautions and allowances. Seeing the certificate in front of him, Zhang Xingyun was a little excited at first, but then he calmed down. In this elf age, as long as you are strong enough, you will naturally have status and money. This is also the charm of this elf age. Now I can get access to more advanced resources, and I can also touch this circle. Looking at the certificate in his hand, Zhang Xingyun murmured. Although he can exchange it in the system, it is also the best choice to be able to obtain it in reality. The Pokeball beside the bed also vibrated slightly, and was also happy for him. Now the room he lives in is relatively small, so undertaking and others stay in the Pokeball to rest. After packing up his things, Zhang Xingyun sat cross-legged on the bed and started practicing. While practicing, he also released his spiritual power to explore the surroundings. On this construction site, monitoring and various warning machines were also installed, and personnel were left on duty. The night passed without incident. The sun slowly rose in the east, and a new day came again. At this moment, Zhang Xingyun also opened his eyes, got up and washed, and started training with the elves. After a while, Zhang Ke and several others also appeared on the field, and also took their own elves to the side to do basic training. The workers also got up one after another, packed up a few times, and rushed to the temporary canteen. After breakfast, they started a day's work. Looking at the people in training, the workers also sighed and then worked. They might envy Zhang Xingyun and others at this moment, but when they thought of danger and other factors, they were relieved. Pidgeot flew in front of Zhang Xingyun, describing its current state and asking for his opinion. After this period of fighting, it was time for Pidgeot to break through. You can break through now. I've prepared it for you a long time ago. Just drink this bottle. Zhang Xingyun took out a bottle of blue potion from the space and asked Pidgeot to drink it. After drinking the potion, the energy fluctuations on Pidgeot's body increased. After a few fluctuations, it broke through to the late elite level as expected. Pidgeot feeling the energy filling its body, Pidgeot chirped, soared into the sky, and spread its wings to fly. After performing several difficult flying moves, it flew to Zhang Xingyun's side and bowed its head to thank him. It's good that you succeeded. Polish your strength well, and then you can break through to the Qua-seeking level in one fell swoop. Zhang Xingyun stroked the gorgeous feathers on Pidgeot's head and encouraged him. Pidgeot has broken through to the late elite level. Congratulations. Zhang Ke walked over with his elf and congratulated him. Well, the breakthrough was successful. Your Flame King will probably break through soon, too. It will take some time to hone your strength. That will be soon. After chatting for a while, the two walked to the cafeteria to eat breakfast and started a day of patrol work. The newly broken Pidgeot flapped its wings and flew into the air, using its sharp eyes to detect the surrounding situation. Zhang Xingyun and the others were patrolling on the ground. While patrolling, they were also exchanging some experiences in cultivating elves. After patrolling a circle, Zhang Ke also became interested and proposed a battle between elves, his Flame King vs Electric Beast. It happened that he had nothing to do, so Zhang Xingyun naturally agreed. The two of them had an elf battle between Electric Beast and Flame King on an open space. Chapter 360, Construction of Huang completed. The Electric Shock Monster and the King of Flames started to fight. This time it was a normal battle. The two did not use powerful moves, but fought in close combat. Bang! The King of Flame was knocked back a few steps by the Electric Shock Monster. In the previous contest, he was slightly inferior to the Electric Shock Monster in terms of strength. Hey boo! The Electric Shock Monster rushed forward, with lightning in both hands, and rushed forward. Boom boom boom! The lightning fist was blocked by the King of Flames' sudden move. The two punched each other. This time, the two elves' bombardment seemed to be evenly matched. Hey boo! Seeing this scene, the Electric Shock Monster also changed its tactics. The tail behind it was shining like steel. It was an Iron Tail move. With two fists and Iron Tail, the King of Flame could not resist at all, and was beaten back again and again. Okay, that's it. I admit defeat. After seeing the King of Flame being repelled again, Zhang Ke called for a stop. He also knew that King Yanwu was still inferior to the Electric Beast. Besides, this was just a competition, so there was nothing wrong with admitting defeat. Hearing Zhang Ke admit defeat, the Electric Beast also returned to the Pokémon Ball, and the two continued to patrol the surroundings. The roar of the machines, mixed with the shouts of the elves' construction elves, were all working in full swing. 10 days later, the hospital, administrative building and other buildings in Huang County were built, and more than a dozen main streets were built, and the outline of Huang County was also built. The place naturally expanded outward, and the scope of Zhang Xingyun and others' patrol was larger. Fortunately, everything went smoothly. Except for a few scattered elves wandering around, there was no big problem. In this way, more than 20 days later, the construction of Huang County was completed. This newly built county town rose from the ground, and there were many pedestrians coming and going. It was also because of the government's publicity and the good welfare that a large number of people came to settle here as soon as Huayang County was built. Some enterprises also responded to the government's call and settled in Huayang, driving economic development. With this, Huayang County was established. And Nanhai City, south of Huayang County, was also about to be built. This speed of construction would be impossible without the assistance of the elves, but it was indeed done. At the elf center of Huayang County, Zhang Xingyun, wearing a black investigator uniform, stood on the desk and looked outside. This investigator uniform was a little different from the previous one. That is, there were 3 5-pointed star signs on the shoulders. This also symbolized his status, which was not on his original uniform. I'm also a decent person. Looking at his appearance in the glass, Zhang Xingyun smiled a few times. Now his identity in the investigator system is also considered to be the middle level, and the key is that he is still young and has many opportunities to move up. Click. After Zhang Xingyun said please come in, Zhang Ke walked in from outside with a stack of information in his hand. He also followed Zhang Xingyun to Huayang to take up his post. He is currently Zhang Xingyun's deputy and the deputy director of the Huayang County Investigation Department. Look at you, what are you holding? Zhang Xingyun asked. Take a look, these are the 15 investigators sent by the superiors, and these are their information. Zhang Ke put the information on the table and sat opposite him. The two of them are close friends, so naturally they would not be so restrained. Zhang Xingyun picked up the information and started to look through it. As he looked, he saw 2 familiar names. One was Yi Crossing and the other was Fang Hongjian. The other personnel were all in their 20s, and according to the information, they had just graduated from college. These people are all newcomers. After reading it, Zhang Xingyun said, yes, 2 of them have just finished the college entrance examination, and the others are okay, they are college graduates. Zhang Ke also said immediately, then how about this, you and Liu Sheng each lead 5 people, and I lead 5 people, to form 3 work teams. Yeah, that's fine. Zhang Ke nodded and agreed. According to the current scale of Huayang County, 3 work teams are enough for general matters, and the 3 experienced seniors will lead them. Because of the Ningdong County incident, Liu Sheng was transferred from the director of the Public Security Bureau to Zhang Xingyun's command as an investigator. At the first moment of the incident, Liu Sheng rushed to the front line and fought desperately against the rioting elves. In addition, he was not the main offender in this matter. After several discussions, the people above sent him to Huayang County to continue to shine. Then, Zhang Xingyun put Yi Crossing, Fang Hongjian and 3 others into his team. Are they here now? Looking at the information in his hand, Zhang Xingyun asked casually, well, in the conference room on the 2nd floor, let's go take a look now. Okay, by the way, call Liu Sheng, let's go together, and pick some team members. Okay. The 2 stood up, walked out of the office, went to the next room, called Liu Sheng, and went to the conference room on the 2nd floor together. On the way, they told him about the work arrangements. Click. After opening the door, Zhang Xingyun and the other 2 walked in. Everyone in the conference room stopped discussing and looked at the 3 people who walked in quietly. After seeing Zhang Xingyun's clothes, everyone was also surprised at his youth. In the crowd, Fang Hongjian and Yi Yexing also saw Zhang Xingyun and smiled slightly. Zhang Xingyun also smiled at everyone and sat in the middle of the conference table. Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. I'm Zhang Xingyun, the chief investigator of Huayang County. Welcome everyone here. Pa 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 pa. As soon as the voice fell, applause rang out. After Zhang Xingyun raised his hand to signal, everyone stopped clapping. Since we are here, we are colleagues and comrades in arms. In the future, when we are on a mission, we should help each other, because our job is not an ordinary job, but to fight crime, so it is necessary to help each other. Okay, I'll stop here. You can introduce yourself in the next period of time. After talking for a while, after finishing what he should say, he asked them to introduce themselves. Then, several people below also began to introduce themselves, and Zhang Xingyun also wrote them down one by one. Among the 15 people, only 4 are girls, and the rest are boys. There are still a few women in the combat industry. Hello everyone, my name is Yi Crossing, from Changning. I have 2 elite elves, please take care of them in the future. Yi Crossing bowed slightly, and then sat down in the applause. He was the last one to stand up and introduce himself. As soon as he finished speaking, the meeting room became quiet. Then, Zhang Ke also stood up, said a few words briefly, and sat back. Liu Sheng also stood up, and said a few words. Now, everyone present has introduced themselves. Chapter 361, The Elves' Progress. Okay, now that everyone has introduced themselves, I will talk about the work arrangements. Zhang Xingyun looked at the crowd and spoke slowly. The 15 of you will be divided into 3 teams, each led by the 3 of us. In other words, the 3 of us are the captains of the teams. This is the arrangement for the time being. Do you have any opinions? If you have any, please raise them. Everyone shook their heads, indicating that there was no problem. Zhang Xingyun's arrangement was correct. They had just started working as investigators, and it would be great to have experienced investigators leading them. Afterwards, the teams were divided according to the list, and Fang Hongjian and Yi Crossing joined Zhang Xingyun's team. After allocating their respective offices, Zhang Xingyun also brought the 5 people to the team's office, introduced some basic operations to them, and then returned to his private office. The dispatched investigators also arrived, and he, the chief investigator of Huayang County, was no longer a lone commander, and the county's affairs no longer needed to be handled by the people from the Public Security Bureau. Knock, knock, come in. Catcher Fang Hongjian and Yi Crossing walked in, closed the documents in their hands, and put them aside, and took the 2 to sit on the guest sofa. The 3 were classmates, and had a good relationship. They hadn't seen each other for a long time, so they sat down and chatted. How did you 2 become investigators? Don't you have your own summer vacation plans? Like Yi Crossing, didn't you say you were going to Western Europe? Why are you back? Looking at the 2 classmates in front of him, Zhang Xingyun asked curiously. I stayed there for half a month and came back. Later, I heard that the government was recruiting investigators. It happened that I met the requirements, so I went to try. I didn't expect to succeed. After half a month of training, I came here. Well, I'm about the same. I played outside for a few days, and was called back by my parents. Fang Hongjian echoed on the side. Haha, what a coincidence, I'm here too. Zhang Xingyun chuckled. It's still happy to meet 2 classmates here. By the way, what about the other people in our class? Are there any investigators? During this period, Zhang Xingyun had a lot of things to do, and had not been in touch with his classmates. Now that he saw Fang Hongjian and the others, he asked about other classmates. Let's take Gao Yun, but he has been assigned to Dongping County. Yi Crossing thought about it and said, although the requirements for becoming an investigator have been lowered this year, there are still some, and most of them don't meet the requirements. Yes, this one is true. Zhang Xingyun agreed. One of the basic requirements to become an investigator is to have an elite level elf. Many students cannot meet this requirement. Don't make tea, we are not used to it. Seeing Zhang Xingyun was about to make tea, Yi Crossing said, haha, I'm used to it. Let's have a glass of boiled water. Hearing that the 2 did not want to drink tea, Zhang Xingyun also stopped making tea, took out 2 cups, and poured a glass of boiled water for the 2. Congratulations on your promotion. We have just started working, and you are already a chief investigator. Yi Crossing was a little emotional. When he was in school, he knew that Zhang Xingyun would definitely achieve great success in the future. He didn't expect that he would achieve it so soon. The chief investigator, the key is that he is an 18-year-old chief investigator. Nothing, I'm just lucky. I really don't know if you are modest or versatile. Yi Crossing looked at Zhang Xingyun and complained, then said, after get off work, let's go for a meal together. It's been a long time since we got together. Okay, it's been more than a month. After chatting with the 2 for a while, Yi Crossing and the others also knew that Zhang Xingyun, as the chief inspector, had something to do, so they didn't bother him anymore, and said goodbye and left. After the 2 left, Zhang Xingyun sat back in his seat, and turned on the computer to deal with things. Although Huayang is a county town, there are still many things that need him to deal with. After finishing the work, It was already past 5 in the afternoon. After confirming that there was nothing to do, Zhang Xingyun came to the training center of the elves and watched the elves train. Each Pokémon center naturally has a training ground. Nidoking and his team trained here after he joined the company. A month later, the Pokémon strengths have improved. Nidoking and Pidgeot have reached the peak of the elite. Their combat power, after being amplified, is equivalent to the level of aqua-seeking in the middle stage. Electabuzz has just broken through to the late elite stage, which can also be regarded as the combat power of aqua-seeking. Madame Huaji has also advanced to the middle elite stage, but her progress is smaller than that of Electabuzz. Blastoise is still in the middle elite stage, but after a month of polishing, her strength is not comparable to that of a month ago. Iron Dumbbell has also reached the early stage of the ordinary stage. It mainly exercises superpowers to lay the foundation for the future. Shakiras and Kabutops have advanced to the elite stage and have also made great progress, but according to the cultivation of the quasi-gods, they still have a long way to go before evolution. Charmeleon's strength has reached the peak of the ordinary stage. According to the situation of the 3 great Pokémons, it is not far from evolution. In the past month, the giant claw mantis has been honing its strength. It is currently at the peak of the early stage of the aqua-seeking, which is a small improvement. The improvement of the elf's strength is naturally inseparable from the resources invested by Zhang Xingyun. After the appointment letter came down, Zhang Xingyun had access to more resources. It took a lot of money to cultivate the elves to this level. The qualifications of the elves are not low. As long as the resources are in place, there is no bottleneck before the king, and it is a small problem. This is also the reason why people pursue high quality elves, and it is also the reason why Zhang Xingyun has been trying hard to improve the qualifications of the elves. In fact, the benefits brought by this qualification are very large and many. Hey boo, as soon as he arrived at the venue, the electric shock monster greeted him. Nidoking and the others also stopped training and looked at him. It's okay, you continue to train. There is nothing to do today. I just came to see you. Zhang Xingyun waved his hand. Hearing what Zhang Xingyun said, the elves continued to train, and Zhang Xingyun also walked to the side of Charmeleon to watch it train. The state of the fire dinosaur is somewhat special, just like the moves it is using now are somewhat special. The claws of the fire dinosaur are cold, and each move grabs the training props in front of it. There are also some ice chips left on the training props, which is a bit strange. How can a fire-attributed fire dinosaur have ice energy? At first, Zhang Xingyun was also surprised, but after a systematic examination, he also speculated that it was a problem when the fire dinosaur was young. There are many water and ice treasures in its body, and the fire dinosaur persisted, so its body mutated. But the problem also came with it. The fire energy in the fire dinosaur's body must reach a balance point with those cold energies. Chapter 362, Reminiscing with Friends. Charmeleon, how do you feel? Are you feeling uncomfortable? Zhang Xingyun asked. After hearing Zhang Xingyun's words, Charmeleon also stopped training and turned around. After saying that, Charmeleon also put on an expression of being very strong, indicating that it was an excellent condition. After patting Charmeleon's head, he let it continue training, and then walked over to Shakiras and the others, and observed them carefully. He didn't find any problems, so he stayed with them. It was soon 6 o'clock, and Yi Crossing and the others sent a message. They put the Pokémons back into the Pokéballs, and came to the parking lot of the Pokémon Center. Xingyun, here. Yi Crossing drove a cool sports car, stretched his hand out of the car door, and shouted at him. Zhang Xingyun also walked over, opened the car door, sat in, and saw Fang Hongjian sitting in the passenger seat. This car is quite handsome. It must be worth a lot of money. Zhang Xingyun asked casually. It's a must to be handsome. This is the reward for my admission to the National University. How can I not be handsome? After saying that, Yi Crossing started the engine and shifted gears. After the car made a dull roar, it quickly left its original position like an arrow from a bow. Driving on the road, it also attracted the eyes of some teenagers. Others just took a look and ignored it. The eye-catching ability of luxury cars in the elf era is far less than that of the society in the previous life. If you ride a quasi-god elf like Dragonite or Flying Dragon, you must be the most handsome guy on the street, attracting countless eyes. By the way, I forgot to ask, Yi Crossing, you were admitted to the National University, and what about you, Hongjian? Zhang Xingyun asked. I was admitted to Jiangsu and Zhejiang University. Fang Hongjian replied. Hongjian could have gone to the imperial capital. I don't know why he went to Jiangsu and Zhejiang. Yi Crossing, who was driving, turned his head and said softly, it's nothing, because my mother is from Jiangsu and Zhejiang, and I just like Jiangsu and Zhejiang, so I went. Fang Hongjian said lightly. Besides, Jiangsu and Zhejiang are not bad either. They are also one of the top universities in China, and are not much different from the imperial capital. That's true, it's mainly about what you like. Zhang Xingyun also spoke up. In the elf age, the imperial capital's bonus is not as great as in the previous life. For many candidates, as long as they are in the same level of university, it's fine. The main thing is to see what you like. As for the class monitor, she went to the imperial capital, and Gao Yun and He Jingwen went to Jinling together. Through chatting, Zhang Xingyun also knew where the classmates in the class went. Generally speaking, half of the class went to the top 10 universities in China, and several other students were admitted to Changning University, and there was no failure in the list. We are at Wanlong Pavilion, let's go. As they chatted, the three of them arrived at their destination, Wanlong Pavilion. The government's support for the newly built Huang County is very strong, and the investment attraction is also very successful, so the three of them can eat at Wanlong Pavilion today. Of course, the Wanlong Pavilion here in Nanhu is just a name and a small shop. Its scale and service are definitely not comparable to the Wanlong Pavilion in Changning. The three of them came to a private room, ordered food, and started chatting. The dishes came up later. You are really awesome. You even killed a poisonous snake. Yi Crossing gave a thumbs up, looking very shocked. Fang Hongjian next to him also admired him. If they were facing the attack of a poisonous snake, they would not be able to kill it, and he would be the one to die. I also found a lot of interesting things when I went to Western Europe this time. Yi Crossing also talked about some of his experiences in Western Europe. From his words, it can be heard that his trip to Western Europe was very rewarding. Fang Hongjian also talked about what he saw and heard during his trip to Jiangsu and Zhejiang, and appreciated a lot of scenery and experiences. The three of them ate and drank, and talked about their recent experiences, and lamented about their time in school. The elves were also eating on the side. This meal didn't end until about 10 o'clock in the evening. The three of them drank a lot of wine, so they found a designated driver and drove back to where they lived. As the chief investigator of Huang County, Zhang Xingyun naturally has a place to live in Huang County. It is located in a villa in King community. The place is not small and there is also an elf training ground. This is also the standard configuration of investigators. After returning to the villa, Zhang Xingyun let the elves move freely. He took a shower and sat in the hall with his mobile phone, replying to messages. After replying, he watched the news for a while, and it was 12 o'clock. After asking the electric shock monsters to rest early, he returned to the bedroom to practice. The next morning, Zhang Xingyun got up, washed, and went to the field to do morning training. If there is no accident, Zhang Xingyun will do this morning training every day, in order to develop a good habit. After eating the breakfast prepared by Mrs. Huaji, he took the elves to the elf center, and started a day's work. He has been living like this for several days, and has adapted to it. As soon as he sat down, he turned on the computer and browsed. Dong Dong, a tall woman with delicate features holding a folder, knocked on the door of the office. After hearing the invitation, she opened the door and walked in, and put the information in front of her chest on Zhang Xingyun's desk. Thank you for your hard work, Zhang Xingyun said when he saw the visitor. The woman smiled, put the information away, and said, Director Zhang, next month is the 3rd of August. You need to go to Nanhei City. Nanhei City will be fully completed on this day. You need to attend the celebration ceremony and report to the Nanhei Investigation Bureau. Well, I see. Is there any other news I need to pay attention to? Zhang Xingyun looked at the computer and nodded. No. That's good. You go down first. I will call you if there is anything. Okay. The woman turned and left. The woman's name is Fu Yiking, a college student who just graduated. Not long after joining the company, she was arranged to work here in Huaiang County and happened to become his assistant. Now the identity is different. As the chief investigator, he also needs to be equipped with a secretary to help handle affairs. August 3rd, there is still a week left, and the personnel defense must be arranged by then. Nanhu County is under the jurisdiction of Nanhei City, and as the investigator of Nanhu County, he naturally has to attend the day when Nanhei City is established. There is still some time before that day, so Zhang Xingyun didn't think about it anymore, and took the information compiled by Fu Yiking, and started to read it. These materials are naturally not about economic construction or something, but about some crimes committed by trainers. Nanhu County was built not long ago, and there are not many crimes, but there are many disputes among trainers, and investigators need to go. These materials are about the things that the people from the Public Security Bureau and Zhang Ke have dealt with in the past 2 days, and he needs to review them. Chapter 363 Arrangement of Tasks. There are still quite a lot of elves around here, so we can just let them go and clean them up. Zhang Xingyun murmured. This problem was mentioned many times in these documents, and Zhang Ke and his team had already dealt with several cases. Most of them were of ordinary strength, but they had to be careful to prevent people from being attacked and killed by elves. Huaiang County was built on the territory occupied by elves. Although the surrounding area had been cleaned up several times by them, there were still elves wandering here. It's not that elves cannot exist in the city, but that elves that are hostile and dangerous to people cannot exist. Most elves in the wild are wild and difficult to tame, and they are extremely violent and hurtful. Reality is not like an anime. After turning on the computer and editing a few times, the task instructions were pushed to Zhang Ke and his team, asking them to lead the team to drive away the elves. His team will stay in the county first to deal with some emergencies. After receiving the task, Zhang Ke and his team also took their team members to carry out the task. The sewers are patrolled by the Public Security Bureau. It's not a big problem if they don't report it. Zhang Xingyun tapped the desktop lightly, thinking carefully. Do your job well. As the chief investigator of Huaiang County, you have to do these things well. The computer vibrated twice. These were 2 tasks reported by the Public Security Bureau. Zhang Xingyun clicked it and took a look. Then the 2 tasks were taken by Yi Crossing and his team. With their strength, this kind of difficult task is not difficult for them. These 2 tasks were trivial matters. One was that the people from the Public Security Bureau found traces of ghost Pokémons, and the other was a dispute between several trainers. They were not dangerous tasks like wanted criminals. After an hour, Fang Hongjian's task progress became completed. Half an hour later, Yi Crossings was also completed. Clicking on the process they uploaded was not unexpected. It was 2 ordinary tasks. Until Zhang Ke and his team came back, there were no other tasks. After handing over to Zhang Ke and his team, Zhang Xingyun led the team to the north of Nanhu County to carry out the task. There were flying Pokémons to ride, and soon the 6 people arrived at their destination. Our mission this time is to drive away or kill the elves wandering around. Be careful. Zhang Xingyun looked at the 5 people in front of him and said loudly, "Yes." The 5 people replied in unison. Zhang Xingyun nodded slightly and said, "Well, let's get started." The 5 people were divided into 3 groups and dispersed. Fang Hongjian and Yi Crossing were in one group, the other 2 male investigators were in one group, and the remaining women were in one group. After seeing them disperse, Zhang Xingyun also sat on the back of Pidgeot and cruised in the sky. He released his mental power to detect whether there were any Qua-seeking elves sneaking in recently. Although the probability was as low as it could not be, he still explored a circle out of caution. It took a while to explore the area of more than 20 kilometers around, but no Qua-seeking level elves were found. 4 elite level elves were found. Zhang Xingyun did not take action, but asked Yi Crossing and others to slowly discover and drive them away. If no one was found by the end, he would take action. "Stop, Pidgeot. We'll stay here for a while." After randomly finding a place to land, he put Pidgeot back into the Pokeball and released Charmeleon and Iron Dumbbell. "Let's go. Let's see how you 2 perform today." Aoaoq ho. After hearing this, the two Pokémons were also a little excited and began to look for opponents. As for Yi Crossing and the others, they naturally didn't need to worry. Considering that they were all novices, Zhang Xingyun had said everything he should say and even checked the surroundings to make sure that there were no Pokémons who were Quasseekings. The rest was up to them. He was their boss, and it was good enough to do this. After walking with the two Pokémons for a while, a Spearow saw the three of them and called Gaga. It rushed over alone. Behind it were several Spearows, all of whom were of ordinary strength. Behind the Spearow, a toucan also flew towards them, with a fierce momentum, and the appearance of its body was also at the elite level. Charmeleon's figure flashed, and with the help of the surrounding trees, it jumped into the air and swiped its cold claws, hitting several Spearows that were coming. For a moment, large pieces of feathers fell down, mixed with the screams of the Spearows. Charmeleon's eyes glowed red, and it spewed out dragon's anger, bombarding the Spearows in the sky. Dang Iron Dumbbell turned into a white cannonball, and it killed one every time one fell from the sky. The cooperation between the two elves seemed very tacit. Dang Iron Dumbbell used a fierce collision, knocking out several Spearows that fell at a very fast speed. Lie in the sky, Charmeleon was already riding on the back of the toucan and punched the toucan with both fists. Lie the toucan screamed in pain, flew in the sky, and fiddled with flying postures, trying to knock Charmeleon down. Charmeleon was like a maggot attached to its bones. No matter how hard the toucan tried to throw it, it couldn't fall down. The toucan let out a shrill scream. It was Charmeleon using the jet of fire on its back. After Charmeleon's attack, the toucan couldn't hold on any longer. It was on fire and was falling down with black smoke all over its body. At the same time, Zhang Xingyun also used teleportation to teleport Charmeleon to a safe place. Charmeleon rushed over again, and with a few swipes, it finished off the toucan and completed its first cross-level kill today. Not bad. It was able to cross-level and defeat the elite toucan, although the method was a bit risky. Zhang Xingyun teleported to Charmeleon and gave this evaluation. Charmeleon retorted with a howl, to the effect that he believed in him, so there was no risk. Hahaha, that's true. Zhang Xingyun laughed and touched Charmeleon's forehead. Being trusted wholeheartedly by his own elf was an affirmation of himself. Okay, after we've dealt with these stupid birds, let's go see if there are other opponents. Zhang Xingyun said, putting all the Pokémon on the ground into the Pokéball. Dang well, I know you've done a lot in this battle. Dang while Zhang Xingyun was looking for a suitable target nearby with two Pokémon, Yi Crossing and his friend had just finished a tough battle. Finally, we killed this snake. Yi Crossing said as he looked at the snake lying in a pool of blood on the field. When they passed by here, they were ambushed by this snake. If it weren't for Jenga's reminder, they would probably have been injured. After joining forces, sending two early elite Pokémon to fight this mid-elite snake, it took some effort to successfully kill it. See, this is the gap between us and Xingyun. Yi Crossing laughed and said to Fang Hongjian on the side. Fang Hongjian also nodded without saying anything. Chapter 364. Joining forces to resist. How long do you think it will take for Xingyun to deal with this rice spoon snake? Yi Crossing asked with a curious look on his face. Well, that depends on which Pokémon it is. Fang Hongjian replied. When he had dinner at Wanlang Pavilion yesterday, he saw Zhang Xingyun's Pokémons, which also shocked him. 3 quasi-god Pokémons, one of which is a shining iron dumbbell. He doesn't have a quasi-god Pokémon yet. Just count it with Nidoking. Nidoking. Fang Hongjian pondered for a moment, thinking of Nidoking's tall and sturdy appearance in his mind, and stretched out a finger. What does one finger mean, 1 second or 10 seconds? Looking at Fang Hongjian's expression, Yi Crossing said, it's one move. Fang Hongjian replied, and after this move, this rice spoon snake will die on the spot. Nidoking too, look at it. Nidoking's body also appeared in Yi Crossing's mind, and he nodded and agreed. Okay, let's move on. There's still a long area that we haven't searched yet. Fang Hongjian pushed Yi Crossing and moved forward. Wait for me. Yi Crossing followed him. Iron Dumbbell, ram, and attack. Dang, the silver white iron dumbbell was almost a white after image, and it knocked over Butterfree in front of it with a bang. Dang, the iron dumbbell shook its body and scattered a few wisps of powder. This was Butterfree's 3 powder skill in the previous battle. This is the skill they rely on for survival, but in front of the iron dumbbell, this level of 3 powder attack is equivalent to a breeze blowing by, and there is no damage. Iron dumbbell, let's go. He collected the several Butterfrees on the ground, left the place, and walked towards the inside of the forest. After several battles, they still ended in victory. Iron dumbbell was in a very good mood. He surrounded Zhang Xingyun and observed the surroundings. As soon as it found a lurking elf around, it rushed over and rammed it. As an ordinary elf, it was either dead or disabled by iron dumbbell. Dang, iron dumbbell rushed over with a whoosh, but this time its attack did not hit the target, but was dodged by the target. Ma Yang Gyangma shouted angrily, flapped its wings, and several sonic booms came over. Clang clang, it hit iron dumbbell, and there was a clang clang sound of steel knocking. Dang, iron dumbbell gathered strength again, used a ram, and rushed over, but this time it met an opponent. Yang Gyangma was not slow, and faced iron dumbbell's attack. It was dodged. Ma, while dodging, Yang Gyangma also counter-attacked, often hitting iron dumbbell, and there was a clang clang sound. But judging from iron dumbbell's performance, the attack of Yang Gyangma, who was only an ordinary midterm, did not cause much damage to iron dumbbell. Dang, the iron dumbbell hit again, and with a bang, it fell to the ground, half of its body embedded in the ground. While the iron dumbbell was struggling, Yang Gyangma attacked again. Bang bang bang, the smoke and dust dissipated, and the iron dumbbell also disappeared from the spot, and disappeared. Ma Yang Gyangma looked left and right, but did not find the existence of the iron dumbbell, but its whole body was tense, ready to fight at any time. Swish, Yang Gyangma noticed the movement of a nearby big tree, and his body immediately reacted and dodged. Who knew it was a piece of wood? But when he saw that it was a piece of wood flying over, and there was a sound of breaking air from behind, Yang Gyangma also realized that it was not good. He wanted to try again, but the next moment, a sharp pain came from his back. Ma Yang Gyangma's whole body fell to the ground with a snap like a piece of rag. Dang, seeing that his plan was successful, the iron dumbbell jumped happily on the spot. But adhering to the principle of killing at low health, iron dumbbell began to accumulate strength again, with a slight glow on his body, and rushed forward again, wanting to finish off the Yang Gyangma on the ground. Ma Keng Keng, when Yang Gyangma was about to be attacked, an ancient giant dragonfly arrived, and threw out multiple sonic booms. Iron dumbbell was in the state of charging, and was hit by all of them. Dang, iron dumbbell also let out a cry of pain, and was attacked by the ancient giant dragonfly that came from behind. With its current defense ability, it still couldn't withstand it. The attacking ancient giant dragonfly was a mid-elite elf, and the power of its attack was naturally not comparable to that of the ordinary Yang Gyangma. How do you feel, iron dumbbell? In a corner, Zhang Xingyun communicated with iron dumbbell through telepathy. Dang, I reminded you. You were probably too distracted just now, and didn't hear my reminder. You have to remember that you have to obey the trainer's command when fighting independently. If you had heard my reminder just now, you wouldn't have been attacked. Dang, well, it's good that you know it. Remember how many games you have won, and don't let your heart wander. After admonishing iron dumbbell, Zhang Xingyun turned around and said to Charmeleon, then Charmeleon, go and deal with that ancient dragonfly. Do you need my help? Ayo. Charmeleon waved his hand to indicate that it didn't need it, and then stepped forward with his feet. It relied on itself, and gave its trainer a satisfactory record. Bang, the sonic boom in front of iron dumbbell was blocked by Charmeleon's claws. Mario Charmeleon opened his mouth and shot a jet of flames over, but as expected, it was dodged by the ancient dragonfly with its agile speed. Ayo dang dang, the Charmeleon and the iron dumbbell whispered a few times, and the Charmeleon stepped on the iron dumbbell with both feet, and rushed towards the ancient dragonfly with the help of the iron dumbbell's suspension and speed. The Charmeleon stepped on the iron dumbbell, which looked like it was stepping on a surfboard, so its speed was also increased. Ayo, the Charmeleon standing on the iron dumbbell opened its mouth, and sprayed out 3 Dragon's Fury, which sprayed out in a triangular trace. But it was still dodged by the ancient dragonfly. Bang bang bang, the Dragon's Fury attack was a bye, and it hit the tree behind the ancient dragonfly, knocking down several dense trees. The ancient dragonfly naturally couldn't just dodge, and its figure flashed, and it rushed over with a flash of lightning. The Charmeleon's claws emitted a cold light, and it took a defensive posture to deal with the ancient dragonfly's attack. Bang bang, the ancient dragonfly used its speed to attack the Charmeleon from east to west. The fire dinosaur looked around with vigilant eyes, and its claws were ready to attack, guarding against the attack of the ancient dragonfly. Bang, this time, the fire dinosaur could not resist, and was knocked down by the ancient dragonfly. This time it was not the fire dinosaur's fault, but the iron dumbbells could not hold up. They were hit by the ancient dragonfly and both fell to the ground. Seeing this scene, Zhang Xingyun just watched quietly, without any preparation to intervene. This is what they should experience, and all he can do is to encourage them and prevent sudden dangers around them. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 365 End. Dang, Iron Dumbbell apologized. It was because of it that the two of them were caught by the ancient dragonfly and knocked to the ground. Ao fire dinosaur roared, indicating that nothing was wrong. The ancient dragonfly's attack came again, swooping down from the sky, and with a swift speed, its impact was very strong. Fire dinosaur was knocked back a distance, and there were many bruises on his hands. Iron dumbbell behind it was not feeling well either, and was also blown away, and hit a tree. Fire dinosaur sprayed out a flame, which was dodged by the ancient dragonfly. Fire dinosaur did not stop, and sprayed flames along the trajectory. The flames fell on the tree, and several dead leaves with flames fell to the ground, together with the thick layer of fallen leaves on the ground, emitting large clouds of smoke, and igniting a raging fire. Seeing this scene, Zhang Xingyun could only take action, and quietly put out the flames without affecting their battle. Charmeleon and Iron Dumbbell also regained their strength, and faced the ancient dragonfly again, but they were still in a position of being beaten, and they fought back from time to time. The ancient dragonfly was still relatively fast, at least faster than the two of them now. Ao dang dang, Charmeleon and Iron Dumbbell started to mutter again, looking at the Yang Gyangma on the side. Judging from the performance of this ancient dragonfly, this Yang Gyangma should be the one it cares about, and Charmeleon thought it would be the best to use it as a breakthrough point. Charmeleon's momentum changed, and it flew towards the attacking ancient dragonfly with great momentum, but still couldn't touch it. At first, the ancient dragonfly didn't care, but when it saw Charmeleon and Iron Dumbbell turning a corner and rushing towards the seriously injured Yang Gyangma on the side, it also became a little anxious, flapping its wings and rushing over quickly. The fire dinosaur showed a smile of success on its face. It knew that the ancient dragonfly had come back to rescue. When it was approaching, the Iron Dumbbell turned around and flew towards the ancient dragonfly. Looking at the Iron Dumbbell and the fire dinosaur, the ancient dragonfly's eyes became fierce, and it increased its strength a bit, intending to fight head on. The fire dinosaur's cavity was full of flames, spraying towards it. At this moment, the ancient dragonfly had no time to dodge, and rushed directly into the flames, rushing over at a very fast speed. Finally, the attack was successful. The fire dinosaur looked slightly happy, kicked the Iron Dumbbell, jumped up alone, clenched his fists, and greeted the guest with a large flame. Bang after a bang, the two figures fell down together. The fire dinosaur was caught by the Iron Dumbbell, and did not fall to the ground. The ancient dragonfly fell to the ground with a snap. After landing, it was still struggling, but it just couldn't fly. Its wings were hit by the Charmeleon in the collision with the Charmeleon just now, and now it can't fly. The Charmeleon also lay on the Iron Dumbbell, and was also injured. But the Charmeleon endured the pain, and with the help of the Iron Dumbbell, it raised its head, and sprayed a jet of flames, and the ancient dragonfly, which had lost its flight and speed, was directly hit. After being pushed away by the flames for a distance, and then hit by several dragon furies, the ancient dragonfly also collapsed to the ground and lost consciousness. The Charmeleon let out a high-pitched cry, cheering for its victory. It successfully defeated the elite middle stage ancient dragonfly in front of it. The battle ended with the victory of the Charmeleon, although Iron Dumbbell also contributed a little. Charmeleon, You two cooperated very well. Zhang Xingyun also appeared at the scene at this time and said to the two panting elves in front of him. He took out Madame Huaji's elf and released it, letting it heal the Charmeleon and Iron Dumbbell. He took out 2 more Pokeballs and put both Ancient Dragonfly and Yang Gyangma into the Pokeballs. The opponent of this car is a little special. It is the Ancient Dragonfly that is good at speed. Charmeleon and Iron Dumbbell are so embarrassed. If it is a Pokémon with slow speed, Charmeleon would not be like this. Seeing Zhang Xingyun's satisfied expression, Charmeleon comfortably bathed in the healing wave of Madame Huaji. Okay, let's stop here today. We should go back. After a while, looking at Charmeleon and Iron Dumbbell who are full of energy again, Zhang Xingyun said. Charmeleon and Iron Dumbbell naturally have no objection. Come out, Pidgeot. Pi Zhang Xingyun. Charmeleon and Iron Dumbbell rode on Pidgeot's back, soared into the sky, and flew towards Huang. After flying around the north of Nanhu, he found that after he left, there were 3 more elite Pokémon here. I don't know where they came from. 2 of them are fighting with Yuan Kexuan at this time. Yuan Kexuan is the only woman in the team, a cold, beautiful and independent woman. Her strength was also impressive. She commanded her 2 elite Pokémons to fight against the 2 Pokémons that attacked. The 2 Pokémons were 2 sturdy sandslings, dancing with sand and dust, waving their sharp claws with cold light, against Bell and Swallowtail. Bell and Swallowtail cooperated very well, alternating between attack and defense, and they mastered the rhythm of the battle after a few back and forth. After 10 minutes or so, they found an opportunity to defeat one of them, and then worked together to get rid of the last sandsling. Bang bang, 2 Pokeballs hit the 2 sandslings on the ground and put them into the Pokeballs. Pidgeot was hovering in the sky and Zhang Xingyun was standing on Pidgeot's back and watching. Hello, Captain. Seeing Zhang Xingyun coming, Yuan Kexuan greeted him. Well, I just happened to pass by. I came here after hearing the noise. I just happened to see your battle. Your combat awareness and command level are not low. Zhang Xingyun praised. Yuan Kexuan smiled slightly, without saying a word, and took out medicine for Swallowtail and Bell. Today's mission is over. We can go back now. Okay. Pidgeot flapped its wings and flew into the air, leaving the spot. At the same time, Yi Crossing and his companions also received Zhang Xingyun's message. After packing up, they left their original position and headed towards Huang. Half an hour later, they met at the Huang Elf Center. They were all exhausted, their clothes were torn in several places, and one of the male team members was injured. Zangbin, are you okay? Zhang Xingyun asked. It's okay. I was attacked accidentally, but it's not a big deal. Zangbin smiled bitterly and replied. Well, be careful next time. It's never too careful to be careful in the wild. The captain is right. Okay, let's stop here today. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon now. You can go off work. Seeing everyone like this, Zhang Xingyun directly announced that he was going to leave work, walked back to the office, fiddled with the computer for a while, and then he also went off work. When they walked out of the elf center, Yi Crossing and his companions were waiting. The 3 of them went to have a meal together and took Yi Crossing's ride home. Chapter 366 Space Fluctuation. Dang dang, after returning home, Iron Dumbbell vividly described the process of its battle today. Seeing Nidoking and the others' affirmative expressions, the tone of its speech became more powerful. Dang Nido Nido Heibu Heibu Nidoking, and other elves encouraged Iron Dumbbell. Bang bang bang, Charmeleon was slapping a special sandbag to exercise the strength of his arms. In today's battle, the duel with the ancient dragonfly made Charmeleon realize his shortcomings. That is, he was not fast enough, not strong enough, and not explosive enough. As soon as he returned home, Charmeleon showed up for training. Seeing Iron Dumbbell's enthusiastic look, Charmeleon shook his head and smiled, and immersed himself in training. In the bathroom, Zhang Xingyun was showered with warm water, letting the water wash over his body. How the warm water flowed through his body, and his muscles relaxed slightly. Taking a shower after a busy day is undoubtedly a kind of enjoyment. In the northwest direction, Zhang Xingyun felt a very obscure spatial fluctuation. At this time, the cell phone on the side also rang, and he picked it up. Chief Zhang, this is Feng Quan, the director of Huang Meteorological Bureau. Now the Bureau Xianji has detected space fluctuations in the northwest of Huaiang County. This is a sign of the arrival of the secret realm. Please be prepared. Okay, I know. After saying that, he hung up the phone, hurriedly put on his clothes, opened the bathroom door and walked out. Everyone follow me. There is an urgent task to do. Zhang Xingyun shouted. Nido Nido Hassan. After hearing Zhang Xingyun's voice, the elves stopped what they were doing and rushed over. It's the arrival of the secret realm. This time it may be a tough battle. Be prepared. He took out the Pokeball and put the giant claws Mantis and others into the Pokeball, leaving Pidgeot in place. Pidgeot, let's go. To the northwest of Huaiang County. Zhang Xingyun landed on Pidgeot's back and said anxiously. Pidgeot immediately took off and flew to the destination at the fastest speed. Zhang Xingyun on his back also took out his cell phone, called Zhang K and others, and notified the relevant personnel. The arrival of the secret realm was not something that a quasi-king trainer like him could handle, so he had to report it. At the same time, the newly built Nanhei City Pokémon Center was brightly lit, and after the staff were fully staffed, they all rushed to Huaiang County. The same was true for the Changning City Pokémon Center. The 2 regiments stationed nearby also received the notice at the first time. The alarm sounded loudly, and the soldiers came to the assembly point in an orderly manner. Under the leadership of several officers, they also rushed to Huaiang. When Zhang Xingyun arrived, the others had not arrived yet. Looking up, he felt that the space was a little unstable and the fluctuations were more violent. This place is about 50 kilometers away from Huaiang County. I wonder where this Huaiang County is going? Looking at the space vibration in front of him, Zhang Xingyun thought in his heart. 2 figures came from a distance. The 2 flying Pokémons were filled with powerful energy fluctuations. They were surprisingly 2 king level Pokémons. There were 2 people, 1 man and 1 woman. The man was tall and had a serious square face. He was wearing a well-fitting investigator uniform with 5 pointed stars on his shoulders. The woman had a graceful figure and delicate features. She was wearing a combat uniform and looked very heroic. After seeing Zhang Xingyun, he flew in front of him and stopped. I'm Zhang Xingyun, the chief prosecutor of Huaiang County. Who are you? Zhang Xingyun, who was on the back of Pidgeot, asked. I'm in Hanhua, and she is Moki. I have heard of you. What is the situation now? The male king said. Obviously he knew Zhang Xingyun. I just arrived not long ago, so I don't know yet. Zhang Xingyun told the truth. He had just arrived not long ago and really didn't know. While he was talking, Liu Sheng, Zhang K, Yi Crossing and others arrived one after another. I'm the investigator who will be transferred to Nanhei City, in Hanhua. I will be in charge of the arrangements here for the time being. Now release your elves and rush to build a warning fortification. And Hanhua said loudly with his certificate in his hand. Zhang Xingyun took out his phone and compared it a few times and nodded. He followed the arrangement with everyone, summoned the elves, and rushed to build fortifications. The people from the Public Security Bureau also arrived. There were more than 100 people present. After working together, they rushed to build a set of simple fortifications in half an hour. Zhang Xingyun and his men lined up in turn, summoning the elves to be ready. In this half hour, 3 more kings arrived. After communicating with Hanhua, they all became alert. After a while, the army also arrived at the scene, and together with everyone, they set up a long cordon. A deafening dragon roar came, and a fierce land shark flew quickly. There was also a middle-aged man wearing an investigator's uniform, with slightly grey temples and an upright posture on his back. It's the Double Dragon Envoy, Long Yan Champion. I didn't expect him to come here. It seems that the government's attitude this time is very firm. Even Long Yan Champion has been transferred here. Seeing the appearance of the person coming, Zhang Xingyun recognized that it was a champion. His name was Long Yan. He was one of the 4 heavenly kings in the previous sessions. He was famous for his dragon type elves. He usually used a Dragonite and a Garchomp. Therefore, he had several nicknames, such as the Double Dragon Envoy and the Double Dragon Champion. As soon as Long Yan landed, several heavenly kings walked forward, greeted him and explained the situation. The command on the scene was also handed over to him. After taking over the command, Long Yan did not make much change to Han Hua's original arrangement. He was also an experienced investigator. Naturally, he could see that there was nothing wrong with Han Hua's arrangement, and there was no need to rearrange it. After a while, 2 more Heavenly Kings and a group of reinforcement arrived. Now there are 7 Heavenly Kings on the field, plus a champion. This Linoop is already very powerful. Everyone, pay attention. The secret realm is about to descend on the top of the trainers who are at the Quasi-King level and above. Long Yan shouted loudly through the loudspeaker. Yi Crossing and the others in the back looked nervous, clenching their hands, and looking at the sky in front of them quietly. They were the first to rush to the scene, and they didn't know what kind of Pokémon would descend on the secret realm. How strong would it be, and how many would it be? How the spatial fluctuations in front of them calmed down, as if they had never appeared. This was somewhat unreasonable, and the scene in front of them also made the several strong men present frown. Xianji was almost flawless, so why did the secret realm disappear this time? Several kings also looked at each other, not knowing what to do for a while, but they kept their composure and continued to be on guard. Something was strange, and everyone did not retreat, but waited quietly for the follow-up. No. Zhang Xingyun suddenly raised his head and looked straight at the sky in front of him. There was movement there again. Long Yan and the others also looked up. This time it was no longer just a spatial fluctuation, but a thunderous roar. Chapter 367. The elves arrive. Listen, everyone. Get ready. The secret realm is about to descend. It is better to drive them away than to kill them. The main thing is to hold the defense line, and don't let them get close to the city. After confirming the situation, the army will conduct a bombing first. With the help of a loudspeaker, the Dragon Flame champion issued mobilization orders in an orderly manner. Boom woo 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 roar. After a deafening sound, elves suddenly appeared on the land in front. The place that was originally a forest has also turned into a mound. The eyes of the elves who descended were red, and most of them ran towards the crowd. Artillery, prepare, fire. Boom boom boom. Several rows of cannons placed in front of the crowd roared, and a series of flaming cannons rushed straight towards the elves. In the present age of elves, modern weapons are also useful, especially for such large-scale elves in riots. After several bombings, many elves fell, but they were all novices and ordinary elves. There were relatively few elites or above. Go, intercept them, don't let them break through the defense line. As soon as the voice fell, several kings sent out elves and rushed to kill. Be careful, the last 2 or 3 people go together, it's safer. Zhang Xingyun turned his head and said to Yi Crossing and the others, and then took Undertaking to intercept the elves. Boom boom boom. The sound of the elves running was like 1,000 horses galloping, loud and fierce. People in Huang County in the distance could sense it, but under the comfort of the patrol personnel, no problem occurred. The strength of the elves rushing over was uneven. Some were strong and some were weak, but with a violent force, the combat power they burst out was still not small. Roar. This imposing roar came from the back of the elves, and from this roar, it can also be known that the strength of the elves that made this sound is strong. Dragonite, you go deal with it. Dragon Flame champion took out a Pokeball, and with a whoosh, a sturdy Dragonite appeared on the scene. This Dragonite was different from the other cute Dragonites. Instead, it had a ferocious face, and the ugly scars on its body made it look even more ferocious. Ouch. Dragonite let out a dragon cry, flapped its wings, and flew to the back of the elves at a very fast speed, facing the Leaf King. Dragonite was wrapped in a layer of powerful dragon energy, like a meteor from outer space, crashing into the roaring Leaf King. Boom. The place where the Leaf King stood turned into a deep pit with a radius of about 1 kilometer. In the pit, the Leaf King and Dragonite collided with their fists and glared at each other. There were only the 2 of them around, and a group of elves lying around were also affected by the aftermath of the attack and died on the spot. Ouch. Dragonite retreated a few steps, flapped its wings, and soared into the sky. As its wings flapped, more than 10 wind blades hundreds of feet long slashed down. Bang bang bang. The smoke and dust dissipated, revealing the burly body of the Leaf King and its unruly face. Dragonite's attack did not hurt it. The Leaf King patted the dust off his body and grinned, as if mocking Dragonite. Dragonite flew in the air, looking at the Leaf King below with a serious face, followed by a Dragon God dive, and swooped down. The collision of dragon claws and fists, the roar of the roar was endless. Boom boom boom, to champion level Pokémons fought back and forth. There were no other Pokémons within a few kilometers around except them. Some also lay on the ground. The Sleeve King has also reached the champion level, and it is not like the ordinary Leaf Kings, who are lazy and have to rest after a fight. After fighting with Dragonite many times, there is no sign of fatigue, and it is still fierce. The Sleeve King may have jumped out of the habits of its race, or the laziness of its characteristics has little effect on it, and it is not like the ordinary Leaf Kings. Bang, Dragonite flew out and hit the hill behind it. With a bang, the hill that Dragonite hit collapsed. Dragonite stood up from the dirt and rocks, looking a little embarrassed. The champion level Leaf King's fighting power was very terrifying. After it repelled Dragonite, it patted its developed muscles and roared repeatedly. Griffin, go help Dragonite. The Sleeve King is not easy to deal with. Long Yan above also saw Dragonite being repelled, so he asked Garchomp to help and switched to a Sonic Dragon. Garchomp brushed over and fought against the Leaf King together with Dragonite. Looking at the group of Pokémons rushing to the defense line, Long Yan took out 2 more Pokéballs. City Guard and Double Axe War Dragon, both of you come out, attack with all your strength and wake up the opponent. Double Axe War Dragon and City Guard appeared on the scene, rushed over, and helped everyone resist the impact of the Pokémons. At this time, Zhang Xingyun also led the elves to charge into the group of elves. With the powerful strength of Nidoking and his own abilities, the attacking elves could not attack him. Zhang Xingyun was now on the back of Pidgeot, commanding the giant claw mantis and others, surrounded by elves such as Iron Ants. With their level of combat power, they naturally had to charge into the front line and reduce the pressure on the people in the rear as much as possible. The Iron Ant was like an ant, but it was much larger than a real ant, and its whole body was grey. It looked like it was wrapped in steel, with circular patterns on its body, which looked like mechanical parts. It had a pair of huge fangs and well-structured eyes. It usually acted in groups, and its attribute was steel plus insects. Keng, the 2 fangs of the Iron Ant collided, splashing a few sparks. With the roar of the leading Iron Ant, it rushed towards the giant claw mantis and other elves. Whoosh, the Shakiras on the field danced with a sandstorm, trapping the rushing Iron Ants in the sand and dust. Taking advantage of this, Nidoking and several giant claws mantises attacked one after another in the sandstorm controlled by Shakiras. Under Shakiras' control, after a round of attacks, the sandstorm dissipated and the ground was full of Iron Ants. Hey boo, on the other side, the electric shock monster blasted down several crow heads, and Mrs. Huaji assisted it. Giant Claws Mantis, you go to involve the Iron Ant. Nidoking, you help Giant Claws Mantis, and Electric Shock monsters, you continue to stay there and shoot down any flying elves that fly by. Hassan, the agile figure of Giant Claws Mantis, jumped several times and ran towards the Iron Ants pointed by Zhang Xingyun, while Nidoking and others released skills and bombarded the Iron Ant colony. The elves all went all out and fired at full power, and Zhang Xingyun did not just watch, floating on the side, allowing Pidgeot to get away and help the electric shock monsters. Naturally, there are no king level elves who can get here. All the king level elves have been intercepted by the king's present. Now what he has to face is the Iron Ant colony in front of him. Chapter 368, Placement of the King of Leave. Nidoking stepped on the ground, spider-like cracks spread from its feet, and rushed towards the Iron Ants. With a bang, the ground energy in the ground burst out instantly, blowing up the Iron Ants that were blocking it. A big word exploded and threw over. Bang bang bang, the Iron Ants that were blown up fell to the ground one after another, and it was unknown whether they were dead or alive. A gap was blown open, and Blastoise rushed in with a rocket hammer, and Nidoking followed closely. Giant Claw Mantis also advanced in the Iron Ants, slowly rushing towards the Iron Ant that was larger than its companion. It was a Pokémon in the early stage of the Quasi King, and Giant Claw Mantis's goal this time was to contain it. The Pokémon that had just arrived would fall into a frenzy, but their instincts would not be lost, just like the Iron Ant, with Red Eyes still commanding its tribesmen. And those Iron Ants also followed their instincts and listened to the orders of the Iron Ant. Nidoking, and Blastoise rushed into the Iron Ants. As if entering a 5-man realm, each attack would knock down several Iron Ants. Several powerful lion ants came over, but they could only resist a few more times before being hammered to the ground by Nidoking. Kami 2 elite late stage iron ants clamped Blastoise, only clamping on Blastoise's shell, but also restricting its ability to move. Blastoise rotated its body vigorously, shook off the iron ants that clamped it, and threw away several wave missiles in its hands. It followed up with a freezing ray, shot over, and froze several iron ants that had just landed. Bang bang, the two barrels on Blastoise's back also made a muffled sound, and two water and electric cannons sprayed away. Boom boom, the iron ants hit by the water and electric cannons did not get up again this time. The electric shock beast was also very lively, cooperating tacitly with Pidgeot, standing on Pidgeot's back, raising his hand to release several balls of electricity, bombing the flying elves like a fighter. Hey boo, the offensive was quite effective. With the help of the elves of other people, most of the elves were intercepted. Hassan the giant claw mantis also approached the iron ant leader and chopped his head with his claws. Puff, after this attack, the head of the iron ant leader was embedded in the mud. The giant claw mantis continued to work hard, exhaling bullet fists, hitting him with each punch, making a clanging sound. Seeing this, the iron ants next to them also reacted and rushed over. At this moment, the giant claw mantis turned into a red shadow and avoided this wave of attacks. Then it flashed back and punched. Under the fist of the giant claw mantis, these guards who came were one by one. The iron ant leader just raised his head, and with a bang, the giant claw mantis slammed him into the mud with a tile-breaking move. Nidoking and others were also rushing to kill. After the sandstorm of Shakiras and the dragon wave of Kabutosaurus, several iron ants were lying down. With a clang, the iron ant leader was hit by the ultimate impact of the giant claw mantis, and his whole body flew up. The giant claw mantis chased closely and slashed with a cross scissors, hitting the iron ant. Nido Hassan the giant claw mantis jumped and dodged, and a powerful destructive death ray attacked, making the surroundings loud for a few seconds, and the target was the iron ant. It was Nidoking who sent out this destructive death ray. With a loud bang, the earth and rocks collapsed, and smoke and dust rolled. The giant claw mantis was also on the side, sensing it, and then closed its claws, and another destructive death ray went straight to the smoke and dust. Boom, there was another explosion, and the iron ant inside was either dead or disabled. After losing the command, the iron ants on the field also became a little panicked, and they also practiced to wake up. Seeing that Nidoking and his men were so ferocious, they all wanted to retreat. Nidoking roared at them several times. His expression was very ferocious. Shakiras and others were also beside them to intimidate them. Slowly, after the first iron ant retreated, the second and third rushed to the back. It was not just the iron ants in this place, but the ones in other places were roughly the same. The elves who gradually regained consciousness were not as violent as at the beginning. Under the threat of death, they gradually withdrew. Everyone also consciously made way for them to retreat slowly, but they could not stop their actions. Ayo, the sound of dragon roars came, and the championship battle over there was also very fierce. The King of Leaves fought 1 against 2, but he was not at a disadvantage. He was very powerful in fighting. Even if the opponent was Quasi God Champion Elves, he was not afraid. Roar Ayo Ayo, the King of Leaves roared continuously, as if he was telling something. The two dragon-type Quasi Gods did not dare to be careless and roared back at the King of Leaves. Long Yan also rode the sound wave dragon, and rushed to the scene. Under the protection of the 3 elves, he began to communicate with the King of Leaves. Now that the King of Leaves has the idea of truce, Long Yan doesn't want to fight anymore. Not because he is unsure, but because there is no need. If they really want to fight, it will probably take several days and nights to get any results, and 1 or 2 of his old friends will definitely fall here, so it is best to negotiate. The King of Leaves is not stupid. He was disturbed by the energy of space just now, and woke up earlier. It's just that it's rare to have 2 similar opponents, so it can't help but have a fight. Now there is no need to fight anymore. Roar, I will take you to a place suitable for you. This place is not suitable for you. Long Yan shook his head and expressed his opinion. He is a person with abilities, but his ability is not superpowers, but superpowers, so he can communicate with elves. Roar, you have no choice. Anyway, you can't stay here. Long Yan's tone was firm, and his attitude was clear. The geographical location of Nanhei City determined that the King of Leave could not stay here. If the champion level elves go crazy, they are not comparable to the king level elves. At the champion level, one has already comprehended the laws, and the highest combat power of some countries is no more than this. That's why Long Yan didn't agree to let the King of Leave stay here. During the communication, the city dragon and the double axe war dragon also rushed to Long Yan's side and stared at the King of Leave. The King of Leave's attitude softened and reluctantly agreed to Long Yan's placement. That is a special place for placement, which is definitely suitable for you. For the powerful elves after the arrival of the secret realm, the government did not kill them all, but properly placed them according to the actual situation. The place of placement will place them in a primitive area far away from the crowd, which is the world of the elves. After integrating so many secret realms, the area of Blue Star has expanded many times, and there are many places where humans have not set foot. Champion level elves are already very powerful elves, and it is best to place them in an uninhabited area. Chapter 369 Ending, An Evolution of Charmeleon. After communicating with the King of Leave, Long Yan asked several heavenly kings to handle the affairs together, and he took the King of Leave to the place of resettlement. The elves on the field are no longer a concern, and now it is time to end. Some people are treating the wounded, and some are counting the harvest. This melee has come to an end. The red sun is also rising slowly in the east, and the dazzling golden sunlight is scattered between the sky and the earth, and the world is bright. Zhang Xingyun also came to the temporary resting place, and saw that Yi Crossing and others were more or less injured, and several people had sad faces. After asking, Zhang Xingyun learned that in this battle, their elves died for them in this battle, and even their bodies were not complete. Alas, don't be sad, it's good that the person is okay. Zhang Xingyun comforted, he could understand everyone's feelings. I can see it. Zhang Ke took out a cigarette and smoked it, his face heavy, seeing the appearance of Yi Crossing and the others. He handed over a few cigarettes. Yi Crossing and the others also took the cigarettes and smoked together. Chief Zhang, you are here. Xian Wang is calling you. Oh, I'll go right over. Hearing someone calling him, Zhang Xingyun stood up and followed the person to the Xian Wangs. At this moment, Hang He and several Xian Wangs were in the tent, handling affairs. After Zhang Xingyun walked in, Hang He handed over a document. This is the casualties that have just been counted. You can come and take a look. If there is no problem, sign your name. Hang He said. Okay. Zhang Xingyun was surprised to see the numbers on the document after opening it. There were 2,520 injured and 521 dead. He also opened the one on Huayang County, which showed the number of casualties in Huayang County, with 32 dead and 50 injured. The people who died were from the Public Security Bureau, but no one from the investigators died. After confirming that it was correct, Zhang Xingyun signed his name and handled the aftermath with several Xian Wangs in the tent. It was not until after 8 o'clock that they finished handling the matter. When Zhang Xingyun returned to the temporary resettlement site, he found that Yi Crossing and the others had fallen asleep. After working all night, everyone was very tired. Zhang Xingyun found a corner to sit down and rest. Now that the kings above have not issued an order to retreat, they cannot retreat and can only rest in this temporary resting place and wait for the follow-up. Until noon, the kings announced that except for the army, the rest of the personnel could retreat first. Zhang Xingyun and the people of Huayang returned to the county town, and this time the secret realm was over. In the battle last night, with the powerful strength of the giant claw mantis and their own supernatural powers, Nidoking and his people did not even appear seriously injured, but only suffered minor injuries. Afterwards, under the treatment of Madame Huaji, they all recovered. Compared with Yi Crossing and his elves who died in this battle, he was lucky. In the battle last night, most of the casualties were personnel and elves at the 2 levels of ordinary elites. There were very few at the king and quasi-king level. Several kings and quasi-kings have tried their best, but there are still powerful elves rushing to their side, which is why there are casualties. The situation last night was too complicated, and the defense line people had to defend was very long. Facing a battle of this scale, casualties were inevitable. If they failed to hold on, then the newly established Huang County would be destroyed, and hundreds of thousands of people in it would be in danger. The number of casualties at that time would be a very large number. Dang Iron Dumbbell, you have to get stronger quickly so that you can participate in such a battle. Sitting on the sofa, Zhang Xingyun said to the floating Iron Dumbbell beside him. In the battle last night, Iron Dumbbell was not allowed to fight. In the situation where he was either an elite or a quasi-king, Iron Dumbbell was not very useful, so he was simply left in the Pokeball. Dang Iron Dumbbell responded, and then ran outside to exercise with Charmeleon. This battle is still a bit reluctant for Yi Crossing and the others. Thinking of the appearance of Fang Hongjian and Yi Crossing, Zhang Xingyun sighed. Judging from the appearance of the two of them, it was the first time they encountered a battle of that scale last night. But there was no way. As an investigator, he had to take on the scene last night. Even an old man like Zhang Ke had his elves sacrificed in this battle, so the battle last night must have been very dangerous. We still need to improve our strength. Thinking of the style of the champion elves last night, Zhang Xingyun couldn't help but yearn for them. Especially the King of Leave, who, with his pair of iron fists, blasted back the combined forces of two quasi-gods. He saw the scene of their battle from afar on the back of Pidgeot. Several tall hills were razed to the ground in the fight between the three champion elves. Fortunately, the place where they fought was far away from them, otherwise the aftermath of their battle would be enough to make them suffer. Our Charmeleon stood aside, with a faint glow on his body, which looked like he was going to evolve. Zhang Xingyun moved to Charmeleon's side in an instant. You are going to evolve, probably because of the battle last night. I thought it would take a while. Seeing Charmeleon's appearance, Zhang Xingyun also saw that Charmeleon was on the verge of evolution. Ayo, this is a good thing. Don't worry, you can evolve without worry. After saying that, he took out the treasures prepared for the fire dinosaur from his backpack. After the fire dinosaur ate many natural treasures, Zhang Xingyun took out 2 bottles of prepared potions, one blue and one red. Come on, fire dinosaur, open your mouth. The fire dinosaur opened its mouth, and Zhang Xingyun poured the red one in first. Ayo, after the potion was poured in, a faint red light appeared on the fire dinosaur's body. After a while, the whole body was glowing red, revealing a hot breath. Fire dinosaur, open your mouth again. Ayo, the fire dinosaur in the red light opened its mouth again, and Zhang Xingyun poured the blue potion in. After pouring it in, the fire dinosaur's body was no longer glowing red, but also blue. The red and blue light was mixed with the light of evolution, wrapping the fire dinosaur in it. Evolve, fire dinosaur. Ayo, the fire dinosaur in the light let out a loud roar, and the body in the light practiced and stretched. The body slowly grew taller, and a pair of wings grew out of its back. The surrounding elves, such as Nidoking, also stopped what they were doing, came over, and watched the evolving Charmeleon. Hold on, Charmeleon. Feel those 2 energies. As long as you can fully withstand them, you will usher in a brand new and special self. Zhang Xingyun shouted loudly. Roar. The Charmeleon in the light was also encouraged, and the light increased greatly. Woo, the light dissipated, and a Charizard that was different from its kind appeared on the scene. Chapter 370 Dual Attribute Fire Breathing Dragon. Woo. Name, Charizard. Female. Attributes, fire. Flying characteristics, solar power. Water storage qualification, deep blue strength. Elite midterm skills, howl. Impact, glare. Claws, rage. Million-ton punch, million-ton kick. Sword dance, split. Jet flame, dragon's fury. Shadow clone, dragon's breath. Dragon claws, earth throw. System prompt. This is a special Charizard, which contains a large amount of water energy, which is absorbed and utilized by its body. It is recommended to cultivate it into systems, with fire as the main and water as the secondary. The system interface shows the current state of Charizard. Well, it's not much different from what I expected. After reading the analysis of Charizard on the system, Zhang Xingyun touched his chin and said, this shows that the cultivation of Charizard is suitable, and a special Charizard has been cultivated. Water storing Charizard? A Charizard with dual characteristics. This is interesting. Zhang Xingyun laughed. There was also a water storing Charizard in the anime. He thought it was very outrageous at that time, and it was very outrageous. He didn't expect that he would actually cultivate a water storing Charizard himself. In fact, it's okay to be outrageous occasionally. Charizard, turn around. Let me see if there are any changes in your body. Woo. After hearing this, Charizard stopped talking to Electric Beast, turned around on the spot, and let Zhang Xingyun observe carefully. Charizard is a bipedal Pokémon with the characteristics of a western dragon. It has short and sturdy lower limbs and relatively small upper limbs. The upper limbs have 3 sharp claws, and there are also 3 sharp claws on the feet. Charizard has huge wings on its back that can be used for flying. The inner side of the wings is blue-green, and there is a horn-like protrusion at the 3rd joint. It has a long neck, small blue eyes, and 2 horn-like protrusions on the back of its head. Just like before it evolved, the end of its long and thick tail is burning with flames. But the Charizard in front of Zhang Xingyun was a little strange. The flame at its tail was dark blue, not the flame color of an ordinary Charizard. It was also taller than an ordinary Charizard, nearly 2 meters tall. But, very good, you will have a lot to do in the future. Woo. Okay, then show it. Seeing the Charizard's high spirits, let it show its strength after evolution. The quality of the training ground equipped in the place where I live now is not as bad as that of Changning's house. It is completely fine to let the elite level Charizard show its strength. The moves such as Jet Flame, Big Word Explosion, Dragon Breath, Earth Throw, etc. were displayed one by one, and the destructive power displayed was not low enough to be comparable to the late elite. At about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Zhang Xingyun came to the northwest of Huaiang County again, and came to the tent where he stayed in the morning. He was called Ban Honghe, and with him was Zhao Boteo, the director of the Public Security Bureau of Huaiang County. After arriving, he sat on the chair in the tent. Many people came in one after another. Some were wearing the uniform of the search officer like him, some were wearing casual clothes, and some were wearing military uniforms. And Honghe and several other kings spoke one after another, mainly to arrange the next action. As kings, they naturally had a lot of things to do, and it was impossible for them to stay here all day. They were all temporarily transferred from nearby cities. Now that the work was almost done, they had to go back. After discussion, the kings led the team, and Zhang Xingyun and other quasi-kings assisted them. In the next few days, they went to the place where the secret realm landed together, and drove those elves a long distance. The place where the secret realm landed this time was a bit coincidental. The place where it landed was connected to the Yangxing forest, and became one with the Yangxing forest. Now the Yangxing forest, this adventure place, has been extended a lot, passing through the 4 cities of Biguan, Changning, Nanhai, and Shenzhen. In the future, trainers in Huaiang County can also enter it for adventure, battle, and hunting. With the kings taking action and the quasi-kings assisting, the efficiency is not ordinary. 2 days later, some high-level elves were driven to the depths and the final work was completed. The kings returned one after another, and the military also set out, after being stationed for a few days. Zhang Xingyun also returned to the Pokémon Center to handle affairs. Now that this secret realm has arrived, the number of trainers traveling to and from Huaiang County has gradually increased, and there are more things to do. Under the management of the search officers and the Public Security Bureau, the city is still very harmonious and safe. In the last 2 days after the secret realm arrived, perhaps considering the secret realm and the subsequent development of Huaiang County, 10 search officers and more than 50 public security personnel were transferred to enhance the public security capabilities of Huaiang County and make up for the lack of public security energy. At the Huaiang Pokémon Center, Zhang Xingyun and 2 classmates were chatting in the office. After the battle of the secret realm and the work experience in recent days, Yi Crossing and Fang Hongjian have changed a little. They no longer have the naivety of being a student on their faces, and they look more stable. This secret realm is over, and it is also a blessing in disguise. It has allowed Huaiang to develop. You can see it from the increase in the number of people on the street. Yi Crossing looked at the street outside the French window and said lightly, "Well, but there are more questions. I heard that Yi Crossing caught an elite wanted criminal yesterday. Well, I just happened to receive that mission, but the man's strength is not strong, and there are some discrepancies with the information on the system. He already has an elite early stage B drill, but he still can't withstand my Jenga hypnosis. Not bad. Jenga has broken through. Fang Hongjian was surprised. His Pokémon is still at the peak of the early elite stage, and it is still a little short of a breakthrough to the middle stage. Unexpectedly, Yi Crossing's Jenga broke through to the middle elite stage first, and his Infernape entered the elite level before Jenga. Don't be so surprised, I'm still far from Xingyun. Don't compare, we can't compare this. That's right. Looking at the two of them singing and drinking, Zhang Xingyun shook his head slightly beside him, and drank the coffee. Chapter 371 Giant Mantis Breaks Through. Xingyun, you should have obtained a lot of good things in this joint operation with the Heavenly Kings. Fang Hongjian asked. Yeah, I did get some of this. Zhang Xingyun sipped his coffee and replied lightly. The secret realm had just arrived, so there were the most good things. With the Heavenly Kings leading the team to drive away the elves, Zhang Xingyun did get a batch of good things in this operation. When you digest these things, you will be stronger again. It's okay. Zhang Xingyun said modestly. By the way, Xingyun, tomorrow is the 3rd. You should go to the South China Sea, right? Let's go together. I just want to see how the South China Sea city is doing. Yi Crossing looked at his phone and said to Zhang Xingyun. Sure, there won't be many things to do recently. Let's set off in the afternoon. By the way, Hongjian, do you want to go with us? Zhang Xingyun replied and turned to ask Fang Hongjian. Then let's go together. I'll be free for the next few days. Okay, then the three of us will set off at 5 PM. Okay. Dong Dong come in. With a click, Fu Yiking came in with a pile of documents and put them on the desk. Director Zhang, these need your review. Tomorrow is the 3rd, and you need to go to Nanhai City. Okay, I see. Is there anything else? Zhang Xingyun nodded, indicating that he understood. No. Fu Yiking shook his head and said. Well, then you go and get busy. Okay. Fu Yiking walked out and closed the door. We're leaving too. Xingyun, you continue to work. Seeing the documents on the desk, Yi Crossing stood up and said. It's okay. Continue to sit. You go ahead and get it done before the afternoon departure. Hongjian, let's go. Then Yi Crossing and Fang Hongjian also walked out. Let's get to work. After finishing the coffee in his hand, Zhang Xingyun sat back in his office chair, picked up the document, and read it. After confirming that there was no problem, he signed his name. With his supernatural powers, he could read 10 lines at a glance, and it took him half an hour to process the pile of documents. It's time for lunch. He got up from his office chair and went to the cafeteria of the Pokémon Center to have lunch. Then he walked to the training ground, took out food and energy cubes from his backpack, and called them to eat. The Pokémon Center also provides food for the Pokémon of the staff, but Nidoking and the others don't like to eat, and Zhang Xingyun doesn't force them. Anyway, he can afford it. Hassan, you're about to break through, so eat more and accumulate more energy. A few days ago, after following the King of Heaven, he also got a batch of good things, among which there are several natural treasures that are just right for the giant claw mantis. He used them on the giant claw mantis last night, and it is normal for the giant claw mantis to feel a breakthrough now. Now that the giant mantis is about to break through, Zhang Xingyun decided to stay here with the elves in the afternoon. Anyway, he has dealt with today's affairs. After dinner, the giant mantis sat cross-legged on the side, and the energy on its body fluctuated. Giant mantis, I will perform a spirit attaching spell. You should feel it well, and then I will withdraw it. Hassan, a spirit attaching spell was attached to the giant mantis, and the energy on the giant mantis was instantly increased by a large amount. The giant mantis closed its eyes and felt it carefully. Slowly, the amplification effect of the spirit attaching gradually passed. Hassan, the giant mantis, opened its eyes and stood up. A wave of air centered on it swept everywhere. As expected, it successfully broke through to the middle stage of the Qua-seeking. Feeling the powerful and full strength in its body, the giant mantis flew to the side, waved its fist, and hit the training equipment with a whirring sound. Hassan, looking at the marks of attack on the training equipment, the giant mantis nodded with satisfaction. It is stronger. Very good. It's the middle stage of Qua-seeking. Hassan, well, adapt to the strength after the breakthrough. For the whole afternoon, the giant claw mantis was adapting to the strength that had just broken through, and under the guidance of Zhang Xingyun, it practiced its moves. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Zhang Xingyun appeared at the door of the elf center on time. After getting on Yi Crossing's car, the three of them set off together. After leaving Huayang County, Yi Crossing put away the car, and the three of them rode on the elves, and flew towards the direction of Nanhei City. Wu Charizard spread its wings, and flew in the sky, a little slower than Pidgeot. At the beginning, Zhang Xingyun wanted Pidgeot to do it, but when Charizard took the initiative to volunteer, he simply let Charizard show off. He could also let Charizard fly a few more times. Anyway, there was no time rush. Yi Crossing and the other person in the back rode on a late elite tropical dragon and followed Charizard. The tropical dragon was naturally not their elf, but the elf of Yi Crossing's family, which was delivered the day after the secret realm arrived. Hey Xingyun, your Charizard is a little special. Why is the flame on its tail blue? Yi Crossing asked, when tropical dragon flew to the same level as Charizard. This may be something that happened when Charmander evolved into Charizard. It became like this after it evolved into Charizard. I see. When chatting normally, they would also talk about the elves. Zhang Xingyun also mentioned the situation of Charizard a few times, and Yi Crossing and others also knew about it. It's a blessing in disguise. It can be considered half a shining elf. Haha, I guess so. Charizard is indeed a little special. Swish. Charizard waved its claws and smashed several stones thrown at it, glaring at the two-tailed monsters below. Are they the long-tailed monsters? Do you want them? Yi Crossing was also thrown stones, which were also slapped away by Tropical Dragon. Forget it, let's fly higher and talk again when we get to Nanhei City. Charizard, fly higher. Woo. After hearing what Zhang Xingyun said, Charizard flew higher. Yi Crossing and the other two followed closely behind. Just now, Charizard and Tropical Dragon did not fly high enough, so they were attacked by the long-tailed monster below. Zhang Xingyun did not want to care about it, so he just let Charizard fly higher. After flying for another half an hour, the three of them stopped at the outskirts of Nanhei City. Yi Crossing took out his sports car and drove into the city. Nanhei City was just built not long ago, but there are also many people living here. Driving on the brand new road, there were several traffic jams. Finally, the three of them found a hotel and rushed to the front desk to check in. After checking in, the three of them took the room card and went upstairs. This Nanhei has developed well. So many people have come here to settle down. Walking in the corridor, looking at the busy traffic outside the window, Yi Crossing said, "It's normal. Don't you think about it? Before the secret came out, so many people migrated to the city, so there must be no shortage of people." Zhang Xingyun replied, "That's right." As they spoke, the three of them arrived at the place, picked up the card in their hands, and walked in with a beep. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 372, Report and Celebration. On the second day, Zhang Xingyun arrived at the Elf Center early. After showing his ID, he was taken to a conference room by the staff. He found a chair with his name on it and sat down. Looking around, there were already 5 people sitting in the conference room, 4 men and 1 woman, who looked to be in their 30s. When the 5 people saw Zhang Xingyun, they were not surprised at all. They greeted him in a friendly manner and introduced themselves. After the introduction, Zhang Xingyun learned that these 5 were the chief investigators of the 5 counties under the jurisdiction of Nanhei City. Later, more than a dozen people came in one after another and sat in the seats assigned to them. After some introductions, it turned out that they were the captains of the Nanhei City Search Brigade, and their rank was the same as Zhang Xingyun. Then, Zhang Xingyun saw An Hanghua and the 2 kings he had met in Huayang a few days ago. The 3 of them sat down at the conference table together. After the scene quieted down, An Hanghua said, "Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nanhei to attend this meeting. I'm An Hanghua, the chief prosecutor of Nanhei City." Pa pa pa. As soon as he spoke, everyone applauded. This meeting is just to talk about the work that has been seen. Today, Nanhei has just been established, and there are many things to do. We need all colleagues to work together to create a happy, harmonious, and stable Nanhei city. Looking back to the past, and looking back to the future, after An Hanghua finished speaking, he asked the investigators of the counties and the captains of Nanhei City to speak respectively, and also commented on several investigators who have performed well recently. Zhang Xingyun was also among those investigators who performed well. Okay, that's all for today's work meeting. The specific work documents will be sent to your work units in the future. It's 10 o'clock now. If you don't have anything urgent, come with me to see today's celebration. Naturally, everyone had nothing important to do, so they all got up and rushed to Nanhei Square to participate in this city founding celebration. Amid the fireworks and the jubilation of the crowd, the establishment of Nanhei City was witnessed. This is the first city officially built by the government in recent years, which is of great commemorative significance. The establishment of Nanhei City will drive the establishment of other cities, which will be of great help in alleviating the population pressure of China. Uncle Ling, you are here too. Zhang Xingyun was walking around the scene and just happened to meet Ling Feng coming over, so he greeted him. Oh, Xingyun, you are here too. Ling Feng also said warmly. Well, I came to report on my work and attend this celebration by the way. I also received an invitation. It just so happens that there are not many things to do recently, so I came here. It's boring to sit in the guest seats, so I walked around and took a look at this newly built Nanhei City. By the way, didn't Huayang just land in the secret realm a few days ago? How is it? Ling Feng said, and came under a large umbrella, found a chair and sat down. Seeing this, Zhang Xingyun also came forward to find a chair and sat down, and chatted with Ling Feng. From beginning to end, Ling Feng helped him a lot. They happened to meet today and started chatting. Fortunately, the government sent Long Yan Champion to come, and there were also Shan Wangan and other Shan Wangs to help. As soon as the secret realm arrived, it was blocked outside the county. That night, Zhang Xingyun talked about the incident, and Ling Feng beside him nodded from time to time, with a look of approval. Well, it can be seen that you have grown a lot. The boy has indeed gained a lot from working as an investigator during this period of time, and has gained a lot of knowledge. I also thank Uncle Ling for his advice at that time. Well, it's good to have grown. While the two were chatting, An Hanghua came over, and when he saw Ling Feng, he came over very enthusiastically. Old Ling, you are here too. Why didn't you tell me that you were here? An Hanghua said very enthusiastically, and it can be seen that he and Ling Feng knew each other. I just came to see, and you have just taken office for a short time. I guess you have a lot of things to do. I won't bother you. Ling Feng stood up, greeted him, and shook hands with An Hanghua. That's right, we've been friends for many years, and you're still saying that. An Hanghua also found a chair nearby and sat down, chatting with Ling Feng. By the way, this is Zhang Xingyun, a junior I'm very optimistic about. Olden, you have to take care of him. Ling Feng pointed to Zhang Xingyun sitting next to him and said, hello, Chieftain. Zhang Xingyun greeted him. An Hanghua was his leader, so he still had to be polite. Haha, you're here too. Old Ling, you don't have to tell me, I can do it too. Young talents, we seniors naturally have to take care of us. An Hanghua smiled generously and agreed. In fact, he also took care of Zhang Xingyun. In the operations a few days ago, he took care of the treasures that Zhang Xingyun obtained. The two hadn't seen each other for a long time, so they started chatting, and Zhang Xingyun accompanied them. During the chat, Zhang Xingyun also learned that An Hanghua and Ling Feng had served as investigators in Yangcheng together a few years ago, and they had a deep friendship. When the two big guys were chatting, they would also let Zhang Xingyun express his opinions, and would also give him some pointers on the cultivation of elves. Zhang Xingyun listened to the two kings' instructions with a serious face. Buzz after chatting for half an hour, Ling Feng's phone rang. After answering it, several male voices came from it. Okay, I know. Well, I have something to deal with, so I'll leave first. Is it serious? An Hanghua asked. There are not many things that require people like Ling Feng to show up. Fortunately, another suspected rocket team base was found in Changning. I have to go and take a look. Be careful. Uncle Ling, have a good trip. Okay, you two don't have to see me off. I'm leaving. Ling Feng left quickly and disappeared from the sight of the two. By the way, let's go to dinner together with the Nanhei City investigators tonight. Remember to come. Okay. After speaking, and Han He also left the place, and Zhang Xingyun wandered around nearby. The celebration went smoothly until around 9 in the evening. Afterwards, at the call of Han He, Zhang Xingyun also had a dinner with the other investigators to get to know each other and get familiar with each other so that they could work together in the future to fight crime and maintain social stability. At around 12 o'clock in the evening, Zhang Xingyun returned to the hotel where he lived. After taking a shower, he lay on the sofa in the room and played with his mobile phone. Dang Xingyun, are you back? I'm here. Click. Zhang Xingyun used his supernatural power to open the door and let Yi Crossing and Fang Hongjian walk in. Hey, it's convenient to have supernatural powers. The two found a place to sit down, and Zhang Xingyun also put away his mobile phone and sat up. Chapter 373, News from the Gym. Will you two stay for a few more days? If not, we will go back to Huayang tomorrow. Zhang Xingyun asked the two. Let's go back. We have been to many places in Nanhei City today. I feel it is just so. There is nothing to miss. Yi Crossing waved his hand. Then let's go back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock after having breakfast. Zhang Xingyun thought for a while and suggested. Won't you go shopping tomorrow? Fang Hongjian said. Forget it, we'll talk about it next time. Zhang Xingyun replied. Nanhei City is a city built in the wild. It is not a famous city or a historic site. There are not many places to travel. The two had no objection and decided to go back to Huayang the next day. The three chatted for a while, and Yi Crossing and the others went back to their rooms to rest. Nido after the two left, Nidoking and the others also came out of the Pokeballs one after another and started to move around. Most of them stayed in the Pokeballs today. The quality of the house in this hotel naturally allows Pokémon to come out. As long as Nidoking and the others move around normally, it doesn't matter. Hey boo, the electric beast complained that it was a bit boring after staying in the Pokeball for a whole day. When Zhang Xingyun was at home, he didn't force them to go to the Pokeball and mostly let them move freely. Kami Blastoise also agreed. It slept in the Pokeball for a whole day today. Okay, now I'll let you out to move around, but don't move too much, don't use skills, etc. Zhang Xingyun gave a few instructions. Although he knew the habits of the Pokémons, he still had to remind them. It's not that he was afraid of losing money, but it was a bad influence. Come and eat some energy cubes, just as a midnight snack. He took out a bunch of energy cubes from the storage space and let the Pokémon eat them. He went back to the room and sat cross-legged on the bed, closed his eyes, and started practicing. He was bored and slept in the Pokeball for a day, so he turned on the TV in the room and watched it while eating energy cubes. The next morning, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes and walked out of the room. He saw the electric monster sleeping soundly. The TV was still on and the iron dumbbells were beside him. Nidoking and the others returned to the Pokeball and were not in the room. After washing up, he sat on the sofa and took out the cultivation book to read. He did not go for the morning exercise today. He saw Yi Crossing and the others knocking on the door. After taking the things, they went to a tea house to have morning tea. Hey, this crystal shrimp dumpling is a little worse than the one I had in Guangzhou. Yi Crossing ate a shrimp dumpling and said, picked up the hot tea on the table and drank it. Well, this tea is not bad. It's okay, not much different. Zhang Xingyun also picked one and ate it, and said, I think so too, it's okay. Fang Hongjian also ate one, and felt it was okay. The TV in the box was also playing the morning news, which happened to be reporting on the construction of the gym. Recently, the location and number of the gym have been settled. At this stage, 8 gyms will be opened in 8 major cities, and will start normal operation in October this year. The locations of the gyms are the following 8 cities, namely the Imperial Capital, Jinling, Magic City, Yangcheng, Birbin, Qianfu, Chang'an, and Northern Xinjiang. In TV1, the host spoke clearly and slowly. Gym, After listening, Zhang Xingyun pondered, and his mind recalled the gym trainers in the anime in his previous life, Xiao Gang, Xiaoxia and other gym trainers in the Kanto region. Hahaha, we can challenge the gym in the future, which is quite interesting. So, the national competition is not far away, Yi Crossing said with a look of longing. Indeed, there will be many trainers to meet at that time. Fang Hongjian nodded. The more famous leagues in China are only the College League and the King's Cup. There is no national competition. Now that the gym has come out, the national competition must not be far away. The three are all investigators, so they naturally know some policies and news. The location of the gym this time is also very interesting. They are all distributed in all directions of our China, including the east, south, west, and north. Looking at the 8 city names on the TV, Zhang Xingyun said that the location of this gym is bound to cause a wave of tourism. The scenes in the anime may reappear in China, but with some differences. That's right. In this way, our challenge to the gym in the future is equivalent to traveling around China. Not necessarily. These 8 gyms should be the first batch. New gyms should be built one after another. After all, there are many trainers in China. These 8 gyms alone are far from enough. Zhang Xingyun explained that China has a large population base and many people are engaged in the trainer industry. Although the trainer industry is dangerous, there are still many people. Forget it, this challenge will not start until October. It's still early in August. It's better to eat now. Yi Crossing picked up a barbecued pork bun and started eating, and asked the two to eat. After the three of them finished eating and paid the bill, they left the tea house and came to the suburbs of Nanhai City, riding the elves to Huayang, who the wind blew by, and Zhang Xingyun stood on the back of the fire-breathing dragon. Looking down, he saw an endless green forest, full of vitality, and the elves roared from time to time, resounding through the forest. As Zhang Xingyun was watching this scene, a figure flew over from a distance. "Hey, Xingyun, why are you three here?" A pleasant voice sounded, and the figure stopped in front of Zhang Xingyun. It was a dragonite. A tall woman with delicate features stood on the back of the dragonite, greeting the three people. This woman was Nangang Yeo. "What did you three do?" Nangang Yeo asked curiously. Yi Crossing and the other person also rode on the tropical dragon and approached. "I went to the South China Sea and just came back now." Oh, what a coincidence. I actually met you, a busy man. Here. Yi Crossing laughed. "I explored a secret realm and stayed in that secret realm for a while." Nangang Yeo explained. "We are going back to Huayang now. Do you want to come with us?" "Sure, we have nothing to do now anyway." Charizard flapped its wings and flew quickly towards Huayang. Dragonite and Tropical Dragon followed closely behind. After a while, the four of them landed in the suburbs of Huayang County and got into Yi Crossing's car to drive to Zhang Xingyun's villa. "Looking at the way you three are dressed, you must be investigators. You look handsome in these clothes." Nangang Yeo, who was sitting in the back seat of the car, looked at the three people's clothes and praised. "Well, now the three of us are working in Huayang County. What about you? Are you exploring some secret place? Why can't I contact you?" Zhang Xingyun replied. Several classmates in the class couldn't contact her, and she couldn't be found at the dinner after the college entrance examination. Chapter 374 Secret Realm and Research. Your Hakron has evolved. It seems that you have had a good time in the past few months. Zhang Xingyun, who was sitting in the back seat, said. The Dratini of the wealthy Squirtle has also evolved into the current Dragonite, and Squirtle has also evolved into Blastoise. Time has passed quite quickly. I have entered several secret realms and gained a lot. Hakron has also successfully evolved into Dragonite in a battle. How are your Taquasi gods? Nangang Yeo said with a smile. It is still a long way from evolution. Now it is in the second stage. That will be soon. Yi Crossing, which university have you been admitted to? Nangang Yeo turned to ask Yi Crossing. The national university in this province. Yi Crossing, who was driving, replied. National, it's not bad. It's also one of the top 10 universities. What about you? Nangang Yeo asked Fang Hongjian. Jiangsu and Zhejiang University. Jiangsu and Zhejiang University, it's not bad either. I thought you would go to Imperial Capital University. Fang Hongjian's grades are enough to go to Imperial Capital University. Nangang Yeo also thought he would go to Imperial Capital University. I like Jiangsu and Zijiang very much. Oh. As they chatted, they arrived at the place. The four of them walked into Zhang Xingyun's villa, and Nangang Yeo also talked about her experiences in the past few months. I recently went to the secret realm in Chang'an. It is an independent secret realm. Most of the elves in it are ghost type elves. It is dark and dark, so there is no signal. Ghost? This is not easy to deal with. It is quite dangerous. Zhang Xingyun picked up the kettle and poured a cup of hot water for each of the three people. The team is well prepared. The danger is not very big. The place we explored this time is a large mausoleum, a king's tomb. Many documents have been excavated. Mound? Yes, according to the translation of the text expert in the team, it is a king's tomb. Nangang Yeo said very confidently. Then Nangang, is there that Zhangzi or something in the mausoleum? Yi Crossing asked, with a curious look on his face. Zhangzi? That's not the case. We did find a lot of mummies. Their deaths were very miserable. But the spirits in the mausoleum are more brutal than Zhangzi. I don't know how long they have been in the mausoleum. They are totally witless and can't even communicate. Nangang Yeo talked about her experiences during this period and asked about the three people's recent situation to understand what happened recently. Then congratulations to you, Xingyun. You are the 18-year-old chief investigator. Although you are only at the county level, it is also a cause for celebration. Nangang Yeo smiled and was happy for him and then asked, then are you going to school in the Magic City? I will definitely go to the Magic City to go to college. Zhang Xingyun replied immediately. He must go to college. He believed that there would always be scenery he had never seen in college. I thought you weren't going to school. With your current development, it doesn't matter if you don't go to college. You still have to go to college. I'm here as an investigator this summer, just to do a summer job. I'll apply for resignation when the time is up. Where is this? Who am I? Why am I here? In the rocket's god-making experiment base, a humanoid creature was mumbling to himself, his tone full of confusion. He's reacting. He's reacting. The researcher in a white coat outside the glass shouted excitedly. Ding 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 dong dong dong. Several rows of advanced machines on one side were flickering. Increase the input of life energy, quickly. An old man with grey hair and a vigorous spirit shouted, looking at the humanoid creature in the glass with an excited face, muttering. It's conscious. It's conscious. The movement here also alarmed other people in the base. Several people in white coats filed in from outside and got behind the old man. Drive Li, how is the situation? Lord Qinglong, our research is correct. We have made a breakthrough. It just gained consciousness. Dr. Li said respectfully to one of the figures. How long will it take? Qinglong said calmly, looking through the glass at the mysterious creature inside. Lord Qinglong, it is already interesting now. The next thing is easy. It will definitely hatch successfully in a few months. Dr. Li replied, his heart was burning. This thing is not an ordinary elf, but an existence comparable to a first-level divine beast. Do you think it can really be comparable to a first-level divine beast? Qinglong asked calmly. Replying to Lord Qinglong, according to the data, it must be comparable to a first-level divine beast, or even stronger. It has unlimited possibilities. Dr. Li said with certainty. Well, that's good. It can be conscious thanks to the genetic code you brought with you, Nangang. Qinglong said to a figure in the crowd. It's good to be helpful, and it will not let down my years of research. Dr. Nangang replied, staring straight at the figure in the experimental cabin. Well, this can be accomplished thanks to the efforts of everyone present. I dare not. I dare not. Your Excellency is too kind. This is what we should do. As soon as Qinglong finished speaking, the people behind him said they dared not. I hope you won't let me down. Qinglong looked at the figure in the experimental chamber with deep eyes and didn't say a word. I don't know what he was thinking. Use the hydroelectric cannon. Dragonite. Use the dragon wave to meet back. In a battlefield in Huang County, Blastoise and Dragonite were sparring. Bang! Blastoise's two hydroelectric cannons collided with Dragonite's dragon wave, splashing a layer of dust. Dragonite uses Dragon God Dive. Nangang shouted. Blew the water cannon of Blastoise. The two gun barrels behind Blastoise sprayed water cannons at the same time, bombarding the diving Dragonite. Our Dragonite met the water cannon and slowly advanced towards Blastoise. Freezing punch came as the water cannon was retracted. Blastoise's arms were slightly retracted, and a layer of cold energy wrapped around his arms. Dragonite changed to Dragon Claw. Nangang saw that Dragonite's Dragon Dive was weakened by the water cannon, and immediately changed his moves. Arcane Dragonite and Blastoise started fighting in close combat, and the freezing punch and Dragon Claw hit each other, making a clanging sound. You have cultivated your Blastoise very well, Nangang said with a smile. Your Dragonite is also very powerful. Zhang Xingyun on the opposite side replied. The four chatted for a long time, and Nangang proposed to spar with him. Zhang Xingyun naturally agreed, and when Blastoise saw Dragonite appear, it automatically ran out of the Pokeball, and said bluntly that it wanted to spar with Dragonite. Zhang Xingyun also let Blastoise go, and then there was a scene on the field. Chapter 375 Uncle and Aunt. Kami with the help of the wave power. Dragonite's every move was known by Blastoise in advance and responded accordingly. Our Dragonite couldn't take down Blastoise for a long time and was attacked from time to time, which was very frustrating. Kami Blastoise shot out another freezing ray, which was blocked by Dragonite's Dragon Fury. After the freezing ray, it was followed by the bombardment of wave missiles. For a moment, Dragonite, who was at the peak of the elf's strength, couldn't take down Blastoise after the spirit possession technique. Generally speaking, as a complete quasi-god, its strength is much stronger than that of ordinary elves of the same level. It is not difficult to deal with Blastoise, but Zhang Xingyun's Blastoise is not simple, so after the fight, Dragonite couldn't take down Blastoise, and was attacked by Blastoise. Our Dragonite's whole body gradually attacked, and the aura on his body slowly rose. Okay, let's stop here. Dragonite, stop. Seeing that Dragonite was about to use all his strength, Nangang called for a stop. This was not a life and death fight, but just a normal fight, so there was no need. After hearing Nangang words, Dragonite calmed down, and his eyes became clear again. It was a little excited just now. It has defeated many elves recently, including several quasi-king level elves. It was at a disadvantage in the fierce battle with Blastoise just now, and suffered several small losses, so it was competitive. Your Blastoise is really a turtle. It's too hard to beat. Nangang complained, after taking back Dragonite. Well, Blastoise is really a turtle. Zhang Xingyun spread his hands and said, okay, let's stop talking. Let's go eat. Okay. Hey, why are there so many people around us? The two of them realized that there were so many people watching at the edge of the battlefield. Maybe they were attracted by the noise just now. Just as the two were about to walk out, a few teenagers came over and surrounded them, shouting that they wanted to become his disciples. Sorry, I don't accept disciples. Besides, Pokémon battles are also taught in the school. You just need to study hard. Zhang Xingyun said to the teenagers. The teenagers in front of him had young faces. At first glance, they were 15 or 16 years old and should be in junior high school. Perhaps they only saw the bright and beautiful trainers, and they couldn't help but feel admiration in their hearts. Uncle, I think your battles are so cool. You don't even need to say the instructions. I want to learn this. A boy with a lively face pleaded. Uncle. Zhang Xingyun felt bad instantly. He was wearing a mask and was tall. His voice was a little dull just now. Maybe because of this, he was misunderstood by the students in front of him. Perhaps in their opinion, a trainer with such strength should be in his 30s or 40s, and calling him uncle is just right. Yes, uncle, the teachers in the school don't teach it, and your battle just now was so cool. I want to be like this too. It's so handsome. Another student opened his eyes wide and was full of admiration. Well, I'm a psychic, and you can't learn it either. High school will teach you how to be a trainer. Zhang Xingyun said in a deep voice. Psychic? It sounds cool. Uncle, we want to learn it. Please be our master. Ha ha, uncle? Ha ha. Nangang laughed so hard that her waist bent. I sense you crossing in the others. I'll go first. After saying that, he ignored the teenagers in front of him and disappeared in an instant. Huh? Where's the uncle? Disappeared out of thin air? This is too cool. One of them exclaimed. Auntie, what are you laughing at? By the way, do you know this trick? Can you teach me? What? Auntie? Nangangyeo was also thundering, and she was not feeling well for a while. She now understood Zhang Xingyun's feelings. You guys study hard. After saying that, she disappeared in an instant. This is not right. We took the initiative to come here to become disciples. Shouldn't we be accepted? That's what they do in TV dramas. Maybe the uncles are testing us. One of the students said, looking serious. That makes sense. The student's speech was supported by his friends, and they agreed to come here often to become disciples in the future. Zhang Xingyun didn't have a chance. Those middle school students moved in an instant and waited in front of a store. Nangangyeo also followed behind. What do you want to drink? Orange juice or Coke? Orange juice. Okay. Zhang Xingyun took out his mobile phone, bought 2 bottles of orange juice in front of the store, threw 1 bottle to Nangangyeo, and drank it. I'm so angry, a bunch of little brats. Nangangyeo said angrily, after taking a sip of orange juice. Shouldn't I be the one who is angry? What are you angry about? Zhang Xingyun on the side was a little puzzled. He had just left the scene first, so naturally he didn't know that the teenagers called her aunt. Nangangyeo paused, thinking that if he knew, he would definitely laugh at her. She had just laughed at him, so she changed her words and said, I'm not angry for you. You laughed the loudest just now. Besides, I'm not angry. Who hasn't had a second-year experience? When I was that age, I was praised as a martial arts genius, and was fooled into buying a martial arts secret book for 10 yuan. Zhang Xingyun said, with a look of reminiscence on his face. Oh, you were like that back then. Hey, I watched too many TV dramas at that time. Zhang Xingyun said lightly, which teenager didn't have a second-year experience. While the two were talking, Yi Crossing and Fang Hongjian rushed over. Haha, I'm laughing to death. You two are an uncle and an aunt. Hahaha, I'm laughing to death. Rushing in front of the two, Yi Crossing laughed loudly, and Fang Hongjian also smiled slightly on the side. Oh, I said, haha, you are also called aunt. After listening to Yi Crossing's words, Zhang Xingyun instantly figured it out. No wonder. A bunch of little brats. So ignorant. They actually called me aunt. I'm only 18 years old. Nangangyeo said angrily with a depressed look on her face. Yeah, I think so too. Zhang Xingyun nodded and agreed. Yixing took out his sports car from the space, got in, and called the 3 people and said, let's go eat. After the 3 got in the car drove towards the reserved restaurant, and the 4 of them had a delicious hot pot. After dinner, it was already 8 o'clock in the evening. Nangangyeo rode on the Dragonite and flew towards Changning. Why don't you stay so late? It's quite dangerous in the wild. Looking at the back figure going away, Yi Crossing said. Don't worry about her. She is quite powerful and is also protected by a king elf. It's okay. Zhang Xingyun replied and got in the car. That's right. Yi Crossing got back in the car, started the car, and sent Zhang Xingyun home before leaving. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.